Hello, everyone. I'm here with CJ.
Hey everybody, everyone in the chat. Thanks for staying up late. I see some of y'all have are different time zones staying up late for us, so appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you. I really understand the pain of different time zones.
Y'all gotta be like me and get on the BST uh, time
Yeah,
zone. I was tired of always being on different levels with her, so I'm like, I'm just gonna start living my life as if I'm in Britain.
honorary. Oh, yeah, do that. I'll knock up a visa, and you can just be one mouse.
Yeah.
So we were quickly gonna go over Kevin Fritz's letter briefly, just to cover it, like because I think it leads into everything else quite nicely. I had I'm obviously going to be reading my own motion to quash and request for a protective order. I filed it, I think it was less than an hour before this letter from Kevin Fritz dropped. So I could not kind of point to it and go, you lied, Blake Lively, but never mind. They will get a response, so I'm sure my response back to them will.
It was echoing. Sorry, I tried to put in headphones. Sorry about that. It's okay.
No, sorry. I'm
Um,
sure my response to them, if it comes to that, will include the fact that, well, the contents of this letter. So, okay. So, I'm not going to read it, but I just kind of want to cover that. This is a great letter. I was incredibly impressed with it. It was basically 2 pages of Kevin Fritz throwing shade at Blake Lively, and a little bit for Leslie Sloan as well. I loved that. And then at the end, basically saying, well, do you know what? We don't care. So we're going to get to see this list. But we did learn from this letter that TikTok have also been subpoenaed. Although, do you know something though, CJ? I haven't heard anyone, me personally now, maybe they have said it, but I haven't heard anyone from TikTok kind of go public and say, oh, I've had a subpoena.
Yeah, I think that most of the names on the subpoena, the ones that I at least looked at, were like those, the usernames where like they get other people's content, like from other YouTube channels, and then they upload it to TikTok. So I don't know if they were like those kind of accounts where I mean, there's obviously probably a person behind it, but it's kind of like
Yeah,
they're just trying to get like algorithm like attention. And so
yeah.
they'll get, I know Dave Neals had an account like that. And obviously there was the one impersonating Popcorn Planet. So
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that's why a
hilarious.
lot of the TikTok people didn't come out. I didn't immediately recognize any of the names on the TikTok subpoena.
No, no, I didn't. I did. I really looked actually because we interact with a lot. I'm not the most active on TikTok, but I like a lot of the content creators that are predominantly TikTok content creators. But then I've got to say the same for the ex subpoena as well. Like apart from myself and there was Spiritual Shift who was on Shusty Fla's um, channel yesterday. I don't. I haven't heard anything from anyone else, and there are supposed to be 18 other people,
Hmm.
which is strange. I find that really strange.
I think that it was the people who were like really vocal were the ones who were kind of already like established in YouTube and stuff, because the X names I also didn't recognize um, as
No,
being vocal. And it was really weird. Spill Sesh came in at the very end, saying, "Hey, I got a subpoena." But maybe it was because she went to her lawyers first before saying anything. But she came out at the very end before the subpoena was made public that she was
yeah,
one of the people receiving it. And I found it weird that Ken's wasn't on the TikTok subpoena, because she's mostly a TikToker. That's where I know her from. And
yeah.
she's on the Google YouTube subpoena, which is really weird.
Yeah. It's strange the choice. I will say that, but I do have quite a snarky line for that anyway in my motion. Um,
Oh, I can't wait.
I I'm so nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous, but
Well, we all know what an incredible writer you are. You've kept us fed with your threads. And we love the writing in those. There's always, you couldn't do GIFs in this, unfortunately, because I'm sure your GIFs would have
no, I
been
couldn't.
fun. But won't it be fun when it hits the docket and then you could thread your own motion? You can thread it up with GIFs.
Could you imagine it? Yeah. I was going to do that because obviously, I was like, oh, well, I had sight of quite a few content creators' motions, so, because I gave a hand with a few of them, and when Cassidy filed hers, I was like, yeah, should I get a thread ready for this? And I thought, no, do you know what? Because we'll do our own thing. This is a huge moment, whether you're used to doing this, this kind of thing, or whether you're someone who with no legal background and you've never done this yourself, but you either don't feel you need a lawyer, and I don't think this needs a lawyer, or you're just nervous or whatever, but you're going to stand up for yourself, then those people, I personally feel they should get their own chance to comment on their own filing, because it's a massive moment. This is
Cassie was just on the Daily Mail too with her,
story.
Exactly. And everybody has their own story. Lauren also, has been telling her story. She went on the Popcorn Planet. We had, her and Elsric on there. So it's just incredible to see, them tell their story and how it affects them.
Ashley, we did a whole nearly 3-hour live stream, just talking about a lot of it to do with my history, what happened to me, why I'm covering this case. And, there is a lot to say. So but I know why everyone's here, so I will not waffle. I'm going to be reading from the screen. I can't see the chat, so I'm not ignoring anyone. But I will get through this and then look at the chat after. So, don't be offended if I'm not kind of sharing or putting anything up. Right. Sorry, I keep getting this thing that pops up and I just want it to stop popping up. Right, can we all see that now?
Yeah. Well, the last one you had was just the production, or what they were requesting from you.
Yeah. I'm going to go into that.
Yeah, we'll do that one after, I think, because then you actually confirmed.
It kind of works actually for my first footnote, so I'll get to that then. Actually, but so you can see it's all kind of laid out. Basically, and it looks like Cassidy's. It looks, this kind of bit at the top, it looks very similar to Cassidy's. Again, we all helped each other, we worked together, so that is why you'll see other people's that look similar as well. We came together as a community, which was amazing. So please take this notice that non-party movement Leanne Newton hereby moves this court to accept this pro se motion to quash pursuant to federal rules of civil procedure 45D3 and 45C2. To quash or revoke the subpoena issued to X Corp dated the 3rd of July 2025, seeking personally identifiable information and private data associated with my X account, Kiara J 2001. Now I'll put a footnote, and I am going to cover the footnotes as I get to them because there's a reason. So the footnote that goes with this is, if this is actually where I should come into this. Oh, I accidentally stopped sharing. Sorry. I'm not used to this. Share screen. So everyone is well aware. I have actually made this quite vocal about on X as well. They got my name wrong. They left off the number 1 at the end. Now I have emailed I emailed Ezra Hudson on Roman. I emailed Ezra Hudson on Friday, and I said, "Look, what is this? Is this intended to be me? What's going on? I think you've made a mistake."
Yeah, and it was kind of smudged too. So we weren't sure if the R and the A and the J and the one that you had seen, it was like smudged. So we're like, okay, it seems like it's you, but then there's the one missing at the end, and then it's smeared in the middle. So you just want to make.
It was actually really badly quite smeared. I was quite impressed with Spiritualship for being able to, you had to look hard.
Yeah, exactly, to decipher it.
Yeah, but that's clearly even before Ezra Hudson emailed back and said yes, it's you. That is quite clear that is intended to be me. And I've had a lot of people say, well, why don't you just ignore it? You can't. That is what, the rules of the court are that you cannot just ignore it because, and I'm going to come to it. I've got so many tabs up. I'm like, where am I? Right. So the footnote, courts, both in the UK and the US, and in the US, I refer to Rule 45, substantial compliance test. Courts have consistently held that a spelling error does not invalidate a subpoena where it is obvious who the subpoena refers to. And I think we can all agree that was pretty obvious, even without Ezra Hudson saying, you, yes. And I will get to the exhibit in a minute. So the chance that there is another X account with an almost identical username also covering this case is incredibly small. Furthermore, another person on the subpoena list contacted me to notify me because they recognized the name which they believed to be mine. Now, at the time this was true, Ms. Hudson has not responded to my email requesting clarification, so out of an abundance of caution, I am responding to ensure I do not miss any deadlines. So go back up to here, right? So associated with my ex account, Kiara J 2001, and I do throw in or YouTube channel, and I put my YouTube channel.
Really quick, Leanne, it's not up. The request for position is still up. I wasn't sure if you still wanted that up or if you were, because when you said scroll up, I was like, okay, there you go.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
I will tell you sooner than later. Like, you're scrolling.
No, do that.
Yep, I got you. I got your back, girl. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, so we're kind of back up where the footnote number is, right? So associated with my ex account, Cara J 2001, or my YouTube channel. And I said, go on to say, Miss Hudson, Ezra Hudson, for the party who served the subpoena, has erroneously misspelt the account username, omitting the number 1 at the end. For clarity, the account, Cara J 200, does not exist, but when it is searched for, the only account suggested is mine. And if I go down, I actually searched it, took a screenshot of the search. I did clear out because obviously there are other users, and as you know, when you're on the dashboard, you see other users' names. So I took them out, highlighted it in a nice red box, and was like, here, this is what suggestions you get when you put in the account name Kiara J 200. Me. And only me.
Yep.
So I clarified, I had to do a lot of workarounds of there's a mistake here, but I need to make 100% sure that I don't miss anything. So I I did. It was quite nice actually pointing out that such a high-ranking, lawyer in a well-respected law firm working for Blake Lively made a mistake like this, especially when one pro-Lively content creator mocked me for a minor error on an X post. Said it was not good for a legal professional, which was adorable because then you've got a legal professional who can't even get a subpoena right. So I'm filing this motion pro se to ensure that there is a response from myself on file before the deadline. We have been advised of the 31st of July, 2025. I have very little information regarding the subpoena, Some accounts have not yet received a copy, even at this late stage, including myself. Miss Hudson, thus far, failed to return my telephone calls or respond to my emails. I have found her office to be evasive and uncooperative in addressing my questions and concerns. An issue other subpoenaed non-parties have also experienced. Even when subpoenaed non-parties have demonstrated the difficulties they have experienced, the interaction has been misrepresented to the court. And I cited that letter where she made those comments about Andy and his phone call.
Yep, calling her out right here.
I'm calling her out. On the 18th of July 2025, Ms. Hudson filed a letter to the court stating one subpoenaed content creator even went so far as to record a call with a receptionist from Ms. Lively's attorney's office without express consent and then posted the recording on YouTube. Ms. Hudson then proceeded to include a link to the content creator show where he was recording his call with a receptionist from her law firm. The video very clearly showed that the content creator had notified the reception that the call was being recorded at the start of it, and the receptionist had continued the call. She had made a choice to continue the call under those circumstances. She then suggested in a footnote that the content creator had committed a crime, which is not true. Footnote: in 2006, California Supreme Court held that even if you don't affirmatively consent to having your conversation recorded, if a business informs a client or customer at the outset of a telephone call that the call is being recorded, the recording would not violate the applicable California statute. And that is the case of Kearney versus Salomon Smith Barney Incorporated. Yeah. So California Supreme Court says if you let someone know at the start of a call, by the way, I'm recording this call, you're not violating any laws.
And I actually asked ChatGPT if it was illegal to produce the call, like to post it. And I mean, I don't know how legit ChatGPT was, but it basically said no and, cited case law behind that. So y'all do your own research on it because, sometimes ChatGPT can hallucinate. Remember the filing where someone filed all these case law using ChatGPT and they were real lawyers and stuff, and it turned out all the cases were wrong. But I wanted to point out really quick that last paragraph that you posted, how awesome that was that you included it, because when a judge is reading these filings, he only knows the information that's in front of him, right? And exactly. So when Ezra posted, when Ezra's filing stated that about Andy, it was obviously everybody who watched the video knew what happened, but the judge doesn't know that because he's only reading what is put in front of him. The link to the videos there, I don't know if, they go and they watch the entire video or like how it goes, because it was kind of halfway through that video where it happened. And so I feel like it's really cool that you pointed out that Ezra's office was being uncooperative, even though they were the ones who issued the subpoena as far as getting the creators and, standing up for Andy. Like, we're a community, like you said. And so it's really cool to see that paragraph in there, letting them know what actually happened. And I mean, you even had the footnote with the case law that it was not, illegal or a crime like they alluded to.
No, exactly. And that's an easy thing to do. It's a bit of research, it's quite easy, but it does have a twofold benefit to it in that, firstly, I'm like I say, standing up for Andy. I'm sure he's going to do his own thing. He's absolutely going to respond to it. But it's a double-edged sword for me as well, and for the rest of the content creators. Say, look, they misrepresent facts about us. That's important for the judge to know that.
Mm-hmm. And DFJ says in the chat that they also misrepresented that he was fundraising with this call when he first started fundraising, when he first got subpoenaed. So there was, he didn't use the call to fundraise.
No, but I mean, Ezra Hudson clearly was using that situation, that video, to sort of point and go, oh my God, look how they're spinning this. Look how they're treating Miss Lively. It's nonsense. And no, I wasn't going to kind of let that just kind of stand, And it doesn't take much either. It's like, actually, you're saying this is a crime. This case law says, nope, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. Andy can make the bigger arguments, but I just need to point to a case and say, no, you're lying.
And it applied to you because you're trying to make a point that they were being uncooperative.
Oh, yeah. And anyone else who passed, Cassidy, Lauren, Ashley. We had a new person intervene who hasn't been subpoenaed by the look of it, but, he's like, well, hold on a minute. He feels that strongly that it could affect him in some way. So, a lot of people are now talking about this. We had a famous British comedian, Jali, really famous guy, actually, and he put up a really long scathing post about, this is not Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. He made a key point, actually, in his post that Blake Lively quite happily utilized mainstream media to, echo her story, but the content creators who are pushing, the truth, she wants to shut them down and silence them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's not okay.
Yeah, no, it's
not. So the response deadline in the X-Corp subpoena is due on July 16th, 2025. However, notice was not sent until the 17th of July, 2025. And I do put a little footnote there that given the time zone difference for me being 5 hours ahead, it would have been the 18th of July. Because I was actually on a live stream with Omar and Cassidy when Spiritual Shift's post went up. And we got note of this. I looked through my emails. There was nothing there. And the next morning, there was a message, like, oh, check your emails because your name's on here, I think. So, yeah, it would have actually been the 18th of July, which would have put me 2 days past the deadline, which is ridiculous. I then go on saying, I am aware that the deadline for compliance with the Google subpoenas has been extended to the 31st of July, 2025. And assume that the courtesy has also been extended to include X-Corp. I am concerned that the tactics may have been employed to cause confusion and or delay so that I will miss my chance to file on time given the treatment of other non-party subpoena that was not issued as part of this lawsuit but has material relevance to it. And then I bring in Van Zandt at the bottom in the footnote. And I basically say, Judge Van Zandt versus Doe's 1 to 10 inclusive, filed in New York Supreme Court, and I give the index number, and it was filed on 27th of September 2024. So that's my first snark with Van Zandt. I then say, as I'm a British citizen and resident, I will be making my arguments based on both British and American laws to ensure that all potential bases are covered. So we have a bit of background now. As you probably see the way the layout of these things, there's always like a bit of a background of, well, this is what has happened. So introduction. This motion to quash refers to a subpoena served on X-Corp, which is seeking the private and personal information of 20 X creators under the premise that we are engaged in a smear campaign against plaintiff Blake Lively. The subpoena is unsupported by any evidence of good faith basis, and not a single solitary offer of proof exists to insinuate any connection between the subpoenaed content creators and any party who is the subject of the underlying case. Further, such inquiries should be made directly to the parties of the underlying case to obtain connections to third parties. It is monstrously inefficient to seek connections to the Wayfarer parties through selecting third parties at random for what amounts to a digital strip search. It also has the effect of chilling freedom of speech and expression, both of which are protected under the Constitution of the United States of America. If that wasn't already enough, I believe that a request of this nature compromises the safety and privacy of non-parties who never intended or foresaw that they would be pulled into this litigation. And that's an important point because I've had so many people say to me, well, why are you worrying about it? They're subpoenaing Google, not you. Can we just be clear here, though? What are they what are they subpoenaing Google for? It's not for Google's information. It's for mine. It is for Cassidy's. It is for Andy's. It is for Shusty's. It
Yeah,
is
and
for.
everybody's saying as well. Sorry, I didn't mean. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's for 43 people, right? And I do make the point later that things like bank numbers, the only reason you want them is so that you can subpoena the bank and go further.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, I don't understand. Like if you didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not going to say their names, but it's a Blake Lively creator,
Of course it is.
a man. We all know who he is.
Of course. Is he pasty faced?
I'm like, should I do a pig Latin? Ixnay, Patriarchy? No.
No, got it. Pasty faced dickhead, I called him yesterday.
But some people are like, if you didn't do anything wrong, like why are these people kind of like fighting it, or there's nothing.
I don't like that.
What are you trying to hide, type of thing? And it's like, no one's trying to hide anything. But think about it, like if somebody wants your personal address, especially the creators who don't have their faces and stuff out there, they want your physical address. There was three things to me that was like, it was the physical address, the bank account, and the credit card number. So the actual physical number of the credit card being used. It's like, for what? I don't know. It was those three things did not sit well with me.
No, and what do you need location if you also want the physical address?
And the IP address is not only the IP address, but every time you've logged in or logged out, you were like, good luck trying to log out.
It's a lot of information. It's a huge amount of information to prove that someone may have been communicating with another party and may have been, posting things that she didn't like. It's ridiculous. And like I say, it's a domino effect as well, because this is just the first level. Once she's got all this stuff, it's like, well, okay, we can subpoena now that person directly. We have all their details. We can subpoena their banks. We can subpoena their, their mobile phone providers. It goes further and further and further and becomes like a giant snowball. But I also don't like this whole premise of, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you'll just give up your privacy. No, I won't, actually. I won't. So I did that. I have been stripped of my privacy by my ex.
And that's why it hit you the hardest as well. I
mean,
it hit everybody hard, but I felt like with you when we were on the live, when you were explaining, I'm like, you were kind of being re-victimized because your privacy has been, something.
Yeah, it was the subject of everything. It was
so,
and it was like it was the same thing. My dad, my husband at the time would be saying the same thing. He'd be accusing me of stuff, and he'd be like, he'd make fake dating profiles, right? Then point this dating profile to me and go, look, you're on a dating site, you're cheating on me. And then it would lead to, well, just let me see your phone. If you've got nothing to hide, you won't mind. And of course, I gave it to him because I had nothing to hide, But when he had my phone in his hand, he was deleting stuff. He was putting stuff on there to monitor and track. He was doing all kinds of stuff with it. He wasn't genuinely searching to see if I was,
exactly
talking to anyone I'd met on a dating site, because he knew I wasn't on a dating site because he set the site up.
One of the things too is that is similar to this is we've seen the handling of private information from the Lively Reynolds parties and what they've done with private information and how they've handled it allegedly. So that's the scary part. It's like once they have that, how is it going to be used against you? Exactly. Like you said, like with your ex-husband, where he would get into your phone and stuff like that. So it's like it's a lot of the same tactics, I think. And the scary part is once you have that information, how are you going to use it, or is it going to be leaked? And I know you're going to get into it, so I don't want to spoiler alert because I don't want to spoil the rest of the motion of Quash. I know you get into the physical location stuff.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, so we got to we brought in Banzan. So I was basically saying, look, at the end of the day, you know, I've already seen what you've done with other people's data that you have obtained through a subpoena.
Mm-hmm.
You brought an entire lawsuit against them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got through this, didn't I?
Info too.
Yeah, exactly. Did I get? I got through. Oh no, I read this, didn't I? Yes.
Yeah, you went
All
through
right.
that. Yeah.
Right. So I create content on various social media platforms and report on the publicly available legal filings in this case and the various related lawsuits and motions filed against multiple jurisdictions. And I do. In many of my YouTube videos, I have openly shared my own experience of domestic abuse and the years-long criminal proceedings that followed, along with the effect of all of that on myself and my family. Like many others, I was hopeful of the positive impact that the movie It Ends With Us would have on bringing awareness to the serious issues of domestic abuse and sexual violence and aid women to recognize the signs of an abusive relationship. And this bit's going to get hard. I'm just going to put that out there. I found this is very snarky to lively, and I'm proud of it in that sense. It needs something that I need to get off my chest about how I feel about her and Ryan Reynolds, but it was hard to write as well. Right. I hope that the partnership with charities such as No More, and I put a link in the footnote there to the No More and It Ends With Us cross promotion page on their website, would provide desperately needed resources to anyone affected who was seeking help and advice. I had seen Justin Baldoni's previous work in which had said, sorry, if anyone can hear a baby in the background, I'm really sorry.
You can barely hear his little sweet cries. His or hers. You can barely hear.
Yeah.
You're fine.
I'd seen Justin Baldoni's previous work, which had centered on sensitive topics, including cystic fibrosis, and I was optimistic that he would do justice to the subject matter of the film. When the promotion was underway, it was clear that it was lacking any messaging about domestic violence. Mr. Baldoni was the only cast member who was vocal about domestic violence, and in fact, on the occasions Miss Lively was asked a question about domestic abuse or how people could share their experiences with her, she scoffed, laughed, and answered with an inappropriate joke. So, and as a footnote, and I've linked the video, you know, the location share and address, and you know that stupid answer she gave to that guy who said, "What should survivors do if they want to share their experience with you?" So that is the link there. The rest of the promotion fared no better, with cross promotions of hair care products and alcohol, which was completely at odds with the intended supportive messaging surrounding domestic violence, and name dropping her famous friends. And I put a footnote there. Miss Lively has previously referred to herself as Khaleesi and some of these friends as her dragons whom she can benefit from. And then I refer to, this is Wayfarer's first amended complaint where they put that text message. Along with the famous friends, along with their clothing brands and songs. There was further controversy when Brendan Sklenar filmed a junket with Ryan Reynolds, who portrayed a jealous husband, Hugh Jackman portraying a jealous best friend, and Mr. Reynolds' mother portraying a jealous mother-in-law, whilst simultaneously fixating on a close-up image of Mr. Sklenar's clothed posterior. So then I put a link to that video too.
And I never had realized that. That was the first time when I read that in your motion that I realized, like, oh my gosh, you're right. It was portraying like a jealous boyfriend, which is right. Like, that is how a lot of the DV starts. Like you said, in your own situation where your ex-husband would, accuse you of cheating. And then I rewatched the junket after reading that. And I was like, literally the beginning of the junket is like accusatory. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so crazy. It was the first time I'd seen it in that way of like how tone deaf it was to victims of DV.
Yeah. And this
So
is
that's the
absolutely
point.
true. Thank you. Now comes good sailing. Greatest extra is you've gotten so much truth into official court records.
Mhm.
Exactly. It continues. I say a lot. I mean, how many times did I send it to you and say, have I gone too far?
Yeah, no, but you know what? It had to be said. It had to be said because
Well,
this is your
yeah,
experience, your voice, and that's what I loved about how you wrote it because it's, you know, it's your experiences. Like this is the way you saw it. It's not you got paid to say it or anything. It's like
no.
it's very raw. So I love the beginning part, the intro.
Well, these are the things that actually, when I was like, and I saw them, I was like, what? I thought this was a film about domestic violence. I don't understand. You know, why are they pretending to be a jealous husband? But I do get to that point at the end of this paragraph. Like many people, I was horrified that not only was the most important message intended to raise awareness of domestic abuse being erased, but that the people in charge of the marketing, and then I put a link at the bottom to say the marketing was done by Ryan Reynolds' company, Maximum Effort, of the marketing and promotion were mocking it, domestic violence I'm talking about, and even imitating some of the behaviours that are commonly associated with domestic abuse. Then we were all told to grab your friends and wear your florals, and again, link to the video, when we go to see the movie. Miss Lively also claimed that the movie is not about domestic violence, and there's a link to the video of her saying that on the red carpet. Even though the book's author, Colleen Hoover, has expressly stated that it was written based on the abuse of her own mother. Based on the abuse her own mother had endured. It became evident that Miss Lively and Mr. Reynolds had hijacked the promotion of a movie that was intended to benefit vulnerable people and used it to promote themselves and their businesses whilst excluding the one person who was sticking to the intended message. And they appeared to be confused as to why it did not make them look good. Take a moment for a breath and go and have a look at some comments.
Yeah. It says I just replied to SL exactly how to be said and brought in front of the judge to the effect of what it has on the survivors. So, you know, a lot of you guys, Lauren is also a survivor.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of you guys were survivors and then got subpoenaed on top of that. It's like,
Yeah, no, there's actually
really
loads of us who have been through something, have talked about it openly, and I do come to that as well. Don't worry, I think I cover absolutely everything.
yeah,
But
I keep spoiling it. I'm so sorry. I keep like
no, it's okay.
myself.
It's okay.
But
But no,
thank you.
it's good. It's good. I even coined a phrase which I might turn into a T-shirt or something. A lot went into this.
Yeah.
That's why no one has seen me on X for like nearly a week.
The person who said write a script and get a movie agent, I'm like, is this a Tubi movie right here? Leanne's story and like Tubi movie.
I would have happily given my story to Justin Baldoni to put into a film. I would have asked for no money. I would have wanted no creative control. I would have let him do his thing. That is the annoying thing. There were better stories than Colleen Hoover's, and there were better people to work with than Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively.
Preach, girl, preach.
I am preaching. Right. So Miss Lively, who still cannot accept that the criticism against her online is entirely organic and of her own making, has made yet another move guaranteed to make matters far worse for her reputation by lashing out at content creators on social media. Can you all hear where there are similarities or even identical parts to like Cassidy's, because this is where we worked all together? She appears to have failed to sufficiently prove her case of retaliation, and with deadlines for discovery fast approaching, seems to be making a desperate attempt to circumvent the rights and privacy of others in the hopes of finding a connection between any Wayfarer party or their council and some of the negative online reports. She has resorted to throwing metaphorical spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite line. When I read it, I was like, ooh, that metaphorical spaghetti. And she's like, it's just not sticking. It's not It's not ready yet. It's not sticking.
Nope. Factual background. So I am number 10 of 20 independent online commentators, and we know that's now the case because it's been confirmed by Manat themselves.
The Twitter 20.
Yep, the Twitter 20.
The nickname CFJ gave the Twitter 20.
I'm number 10 of 20 independent online commentators who lawfully comment on court filings and publicly available material related to high-profile litigation. I do not have any affiliation with the defendants, defendants' counsel, or anyone related to the defendants in this matter. On 18th of July 2025, I received notification from another subpoenaed ex-user to say that they believed I was on the subpoena. Yeah, and I just put a little note there on footnote, another person who reasonably believed the subpoena was intended to identify me despite the spelling error of my X account username. Yeah, to say that they believed I was on the subpoena and that my identifying information, including names, emails, addresses, IP logs, payment data, and other personal information was being sought. Not all of us have received a copy of the actual subpoena, including myself, and I have concerns that many people affected will not have the chance to defend their rights against this subpoena due to not receiving notification. The subpoena issued by plaintiff's counsel Ezra Hudson requests the following from X-Corp. 1. Names, addresses, email accounts, and phone numbers, including backups. Any information plaintiff wishes to collect regarding Wayfarer and communications with the media should be requested directly from Wayfarer instead of by searching through information obtained from the data controllers of random selection of accounts on social media that may have made negative remarks about Ms. Lively. 2. IP addresses, login histories, and geolocation data. Plaintiff has not explained, nor is it readily apparent, why my location has any bearing on this litigation. I reside in the United Kingdom, thousands of miles away from any of the parties, which should be the sum totality of the relevance of my location. Plaintiff has further not explained why they want this information going back to May 2024, when I did not begin speaking about this topic until January 2025. Following the New York Times "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine" article was released, and then I'll leave a link to that. Prior to this, I had knowledge of Justin Baldoni through his acting roles. I was not aware of any other Wayfarer party or their counsel. I was only aware of Miss Lively as the wife of Ryan Reynolds, not for any of her own accomplishments.
Not for any of her own accomplishments.
True. I'd never seen a thing she was in. I hadn't.
And me and you discussed in the one live where, and me, I think Laura was, or in the chat where I was telling you how no one knew who she was. They either thought she was Blake Shelton, this country singer. But then the moment I was like Ryan Reynolds' wife, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, I know who she is." And that's the only way they knew her, like not by name.
Yeah.
Things she's been in.
Oh, I see so many people I recognize in the chat. I'm just going to say hi, Annie. Hi, Kinney. Hi, Christina. Oh,
Yeah,
CJ, you're there.
You have 600 people here.
I know. What?
It's a good crowd.
Wow.
It's a good crowd, and it's all the regulars are here.
Sam privately, and your ex sounds diabolical. He absolutely was. He really was. It was awful. If anyone hasn't heard the live stream we did the other day and how bad things actually got, I'm really open about it because I haven't spoken about it publicly until I started to make some of these videos, and I gained a little bit of confidence. I had support around me, which was something I'd not had for decades. And I felt safe that I could share a little bit and a little bit more. And then obviously we're dealing with a case where, in particular with Jen Abel, I always say, my God, I can relate to Jen Abel, what she must be feeling, knowing that people were just, accessing unfettered access to her private communications, photos, important medical information, financial information, everything that everyone holds dear. Like, no one can walk around these days without their phone because their entire life is on it. And I understand how she felt. I really do.
And
And it's
especially not having access to log in and stuff like that. And
yeah,
then imagine finding out that later on they were in her iCloud until January. So it was like a
yeah,
double whammy. And that reminded me of your experience because, you had to go through the whole, your phone being taken and all that stuff and
yeah,
living through it once and then living through it again when you realized that he had bugged the phone, was,
yeah.
deleting stuff and all that. So yeah, definitely very, very similar.
It was absolutely awful. And I said the other day, the one thing that I can get over all of that, and I will get over all of that. The one thing I don't think I'll ever move away from is my grandmother was 91 years old. She was the love of my life, and she went into hospital in the December with a fairly mild virus, shingles, and an ear infection. Should have been easily treated, and she was in hospital until March. And I didn't get to see her. I live a couple of 100 miles away from where she was. I have a car, I drive, but it kept being taken off me. And in 4 months, I didn't get to go and visit her once. And
Wow.
then she died. And the one thing that I can't move past is I'm terrified that she died thinking I didn't care. And there's no amount of therapy is ever going to make that better.
Wow, and it reminds me of the Demore Hadley case that I was covering, where her mother's keeping her away from her grandfather, who has Alzheimer's, and she's the only one. There's only like 3 people he recognizes, and she's one of them. So it just reminded me of that. I was like, ooh, like if he passes, and then like, because she's fighting in court against her mom, who's the CEO of Rock Nation, and I'm like, wow, like I can't imagine. Like right now, when you're telling me the story, I'm like, wow, like that's crazy.
I mean, it's bad enough that, all the photos and everything, all my memories and all that, all my photos, my children growing up, and all of that, my grandparents who had passed away, other family members who had passed away, everything was completely and utterly wiped. And it was unretrievable. And it wasn't just a factory reset. He completely reinstalled the operating system. So nothing was recovered.
Yeah, you're the one who taught me what flash meant because I didn't know what that
Yeah,
meant.
he flashed the phone.
This
And
Ricardo here, I recognize him from the Omar streams. Hey, Ricardo.
and like I can make new memories.
Mm-hmm.
I can rally round and see what photos like other family members might have of me as a child, my children as kids and things like that. But yeah, I can't get my grandmother back.
Yeah, and do you know if Jen Abel ever got a hold of those photos, or?
I don't know.
Well, this motion of Quash is for Granny. I'm like,
Yeah.
Granny.
I wrote this.
That strength behind the scenes. You know how they say like your ancestors
Yeah.
always like, you always have the power of the ancestors, and so I hope you said that I hope she didn't pass away with. I think she knows. If she didn't know then, I think she knows now. She knows your heart, and hopefully she's proud of all the stuff that you're accomplishing. You were able
Yeah.
to have that relationship, and
No, absolutely. And I love this message. Thank you, Relevant Photons. Yes, my little 2-month-old granddaughter. My granddaughter lives here with me, with my daughter and her husband, and it's really nice to have that. But yeah, the next generation is here, and it's really lovely. But I'm going to go back to this now because I'm sorry I keep stopping. It's really actually quite hard to get through it because when I was writing it, I think I channeled all the anger I built up, not just over Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, but for Jen Abel, for Justin Baldoni, for every member of the Wayfarer Party, and even for Brian Friedman, who I think his professional reputation has been utterly dragged by Blake Lively's lawyers needlessly. That's just so unprofessional. And I had some, like I say, I hadn't really until covering this case, I hadn't talked to anyone about what happened to me. And I think I got a lot off my chest. So it gets more spicy as I get through this. But yeah, I there were moments when I thought, oh God, what if this gets stricken? It shouldn't, because it is just factual evidence, and everything I say I backed up with a footnote which has got a link or it refers to a filing. So I'm not saying things for the sake of saying it. I'm not being hyperbolic. You know, I am saying, well, she said this, or this is how I feel. And
during my history, I was like, you kind of sprinkled in your own story in between the factual like stuff. That's how I felt. Like it was like you do like a sentence of what it felt like to you, like with the TV stuff, and then you put like a factual thing, like this is how they handled it. And I feel like it was really important because it shows that people were backing this whole Baldoni thing because they saw themselves in a certain aspect, right, of the story. You saw yourself as Jen Abel. You know, some people saw themselves as Baldoni if they'd been falsely accused. Like there was a bunch of like a mirror, like you could see yourself in it, and so that's why you were being protective.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And no, you know, not to underestimate, it's not just my privacy. You know, you saw also what happened with Not Actually Golden. You know, there's the worry of what happens with the kids, the safety. Do they go? People go looking for their schools and things. But people do that, and you know, like, yeah, I'm not letting this woman have my data, not easily at all. But let's go back to this. So where did we got to? I was only aware of Miss Lively as the wife of Ryan Reynolds, not for any of her own accomplishments. Furthermore, Miss Lively herself makes a compelling argument that I have a constitutional right to privacy regarding my financial information. In her response to the Wayfarers Party's motion to compel her to disclose her own financial information in this litigation, which she elected to initiate and seek damages, she states, this argument falls woefully short of overcoming the general rule against seeking party assets and financial information and Miss Lively's constitutional right to privacy of the same. Miss Lively appears to recognise that the basic elements of privacy rights Miss Lively appears to recognise the basic elements of privacy rights that individuals are entitled to, despite her attempts to pierce mine and several others. 3. X account information, and including payment sources. So no third party has access to add any additional money to an X creator's account. And until a few days before the X Corp subpoena was noticed, I was not monetized on any platform. And I am not monetized on X or any other platform. So, simple as that. Bank account and credit card information, number 4. I'm interested to know what could possibly be gained by accessing my bank account and credit card information. Plaintiff claims to be looking for signs that as a content creator, I am allegedly being paid by someone outside of AdSense on my YouTube account to create my content favorably to Wayfarer or negatively to Miss Lively and Mr. Reynolds. This request from my financial records is overwhelmingly invasive. I restate that any information plaintiff wishes to collect regarding Wayfarer and communications or payments with media and social media should be requested directly from Wayfarer instead of chasing down every account that may have made negative remarks about Miss Lively and demanding I show my private information along with anyone whom I share a bank account with. Sorry, catching my breath.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that because you brought it up in the last live that we did together, that if somebody, and it was something that I didn't even realize when I read the bank account part, if somebody has a joint bank account with somebody else, then it exposes their private information and they don't get to have a say in it, more or less. Like, how does that work? Some people like will have their kids on their bank account. Like there's some banks who have like kid accounts or whatever. Like, so
I do.
Now you're gonna get your kids' bank information as well,
and their trust funds, and absolutely. It's just like I say, But the response from Manat was, "Oh, don't worry, it's nothing, not much. We don't really want that much information." Bullshit. You do, and it could verge into other people's as well who are not even on a subpoena. So where was I? Right, that's it.
Financial part.
I failed to see why information such as bank account numbers would be required for any other purpose than to issue a further subpoena to the financial institutions with whom I conduct my business to obtain fuller financial records which have no relevance to Miss Lively's claims and are grossly intrusive. Furthermore, this information would be futile to Miss Lively, as I am a British citizen and resident, and a subpoena served on me personally would be unenforceable without going through the correct channels. 5. Backup delivery. Right, sorry, I'm getting tired now. Backup recovery details, premium services, and account usage history. It's unclear what my backup recovery details or premium services have to do with any part of this litigation, and the request needs clarification if the court grants her this invasive subpoena. There wasn't too much to say because I genuinely don't know what she's talking about there. In terms of X, like with YouTube, it's more obvious. With X, it's like, okay, I may be paying for X premium. Yes, I've got a blue check mark. And, so is Blake Lively, so is Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
They know what that means.
Usage history was like what your like how often you tweet, like what is account usage? Yeah, it was really vague. And plus, at the time you wrote it, you didn't have the actual subpoena. You only had the small portion that was sent to you with your name on it, just the request for production part. So all the definitions and all the relevant stuff you didn't have. And
I had a lot. It was a lot of. I had no information. Like, no, I'll save it actually. But I do make a mistake with the location of the X, where the actual X location that she served the subpoena, because it's not clear because I didn't have that information. But I continue. So, given Mr. Reynolds was dismissed on the 9th of June, my birthday, he was dismissed as a party on the 9th of June. I find it concerning that he is referred to as a party in this action within the definitions of a subpoena dated the 3rd of July. That's nearly a month later. So I'm going to take you to Exhibit B because I've referenced it there. And there it is in blue. Mr. Reynolds shall refer to Ryan Reynolds, who is a party to this action. It's in the present tense, nearly a month after he was dismissed. Which
you pointed that out this morning on my show because I was like, I forget how it came up, but you were like, no, he was dismissed, so he shouldn't.
Yeah, he was dismissed. But it's not just that. Oh, he says, they're asking for information about him as well. It's like, well, why? And I make a snarky comment.
And don't the letters still say the Reynolds Lively parties? Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there was a recent letter after June that said the Reynolds Lively party. So, I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do. Sorry, I'm just going back in now. So we've looked at Exhibit B. This seems at odds with the court's order dated the 18th of June 2025, and that order is where they were trying to compel Wayfarer for the information for the content creators and anything to do with Brian Friedman's emails and all that. And the judge said, what the bits that Lively is asking for, fine. But the bits, because it was Reynolds, there was like a joint motion to compel, and some of it was from Ryan Reynolds. And Blake Lively made the argument of, well, yeah, but I still need the stuff he's asking for too. And the judge actually said, no, he's not a party. He doesn't get this stuff now. You can have what you've asked for, but you're not getting what he has asked for because it doesn't work like that. And so, yeah, this seems at odds with the court's order dated the 18th of June 2025. And as far as the content creators are aware, and here comes the snark, Mr. Reynolds is not alleging any untraceable retaliation campaign for raising allegations of sexual harassment. I find this heightens my concerns that this is a fishing expedition intended to cause intimidation and harassment. I have been left with little time to respond before the deadline. Out of an abundance of caution, I'm adhering to the date of 31st of July 2025, regardless of the original typo error in my name. And now I'm going to get into the law. And obviously, UK law, that's my backyard. So we've got 6 laws I talk about here. The first 3 are in UK, and the second 3 I do cover American law, specifically about the subpoena. The reason people are going to say, well, why haven't you talked about the First Amendment? I'm not an American citizen, and I'm not resident in America. So the First Amendment right does not apply to me. So that's why I don't cover it. I took it out specifically because there's no point me arguing it. I think I referenced it briefly because a lot of this argument as well is not just for myself. It's like, hold on a minute now, these arguments apply to everyone on that subpoena and the other 2 subpoenas now, because these subpoenas are improper.
The one I know is that UK GDPR, because so many people referenced it on X, like, trying to be like, oh, if you're a British citizen, this is so that's the only one that I've actually like looked into. The other ones I'm going to be, I read through this before, but yeah, that's the one that I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting, that law that you guys have.
Yeah,
it's recent.
So America is very much about free speech, and that's great. And Britain does have free speech, but it has limits in that you can't say things that are hateful. You can't say things that incite violence or harassment, or like you can't publish things about people for their sexuality, for disability, for their race. That's not okay. And I think that's a perfectly good balance, actually. You wouldn't want that because it's nice to be able to say whatever you want, but I do feel like sometimes if there's no limits in place, then things can be said that are pretty harmful or can have an ongoing effect on people in their careers or their lives in various ways. So I'm okay with the checks and balances we have on free speech. It is still free speech in every sense of the word. It's just you're not free to injure a person with your words or cause harm to someone. And I'm all right with that. What we have, though, which is the equivalent of the American free speech, and the protection is just as hard and just as strong, is the privacy laws. And I love that. And you're about to see, I'm going to explain step by step why I'm glad.
Right before you get into the law, Omar's here, and he just said motion to squash. Put that one up. We had to go to Omar and the motion.
Oh my God. I'm sure Omar won't mind me saying this, but I asked him a question yesterday, and I was like, what do you think of what wording for this, for the motion to quash? And he said to me, it's motion to squash. And like, I'd heard a couple of other California lawyers say that, and I was like, no. But when Omar says it, I'm like, is he being serious? Because I he's so believable, and I'm so gullible.
So you thought in California, the verbiage, the legal verbiage was motion to squash. So you're like, is this a California thing? Oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard when you first told me that this morning.
I really did. Hi everyone. Hi Omar. It's lovely to see you. Where am I? So UK law. Let's go through the law.
All right, I'm ready.
So legal standard I've got, right? So with the first one I'm going to start with is the Hague Convention on taking of evidence abroad in civil or commercial matters. UK GDPR and the Data Protection Act 2018, or the DPA we'll call it. Then we've got Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. That's the ECHR. And then the Human Rights Act 1998. And then for the American law, I have got Rule 45D3A. A court must quash or modify a subpoena that requires disclosure of privileged or other protected matter or subjects a person to undue burden. And that's where I put in a little bit about the First Amendment and a couple of cases, McIntyre versus Ohio Elections Committee. And there's another one, Sony Music Entertainment Incorporated versus Doe's 1 through 40. So I put a few, because like I say, I did make the argument briefly about First Amendment, but I didn't label that in mind because there's no point. I'm not entitled to that protection. So yeah, that's Rule 45D3A. Then we've got Rule 45C2, which states regarding the place of issue, productions of documents, electronically stored information or tangible things at a place within 100 miles of where the person resides, is employed, or regularly transacts business in person. So we do get into that because these subpoenas are served on California companies, but they're New York subpoenas. They don't appear to have been domesticated. Then we've got Section 2702B3 of the Stored Communications Act, which authorizes an ECS or an RCS provider to divulge the contents of communications when lawful consent has been given to do so. So, UK law. I'm a British citizen and resident. As such, American courts have no jurisdiction over me or my data. And then I put this line up. This is the line I'm going to put on
the t-shirts.
On the t-shirts. Once a subpoena leaves its jurisdiction, it becomes nothing more than a wish list.
Yeah, I love that, like the snark right there.
It's true though. It's like when people do an Amazon wish list, just because you put it there and you've asked for it, it doesn't mean that someone's bought it for you.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. And honestly, it was all these different jurisdictions though, right? It was like California, New York, because isn't X in California or was that?
X's headquarters is they have got an office in Nevada actually, but they have got their headquarters is in Texas.
Okay, so Texas, and then you have New York, and then you have UK, and then Ashley's over in Canada. So it's like all these different jurisdictions. We should put that on the t-shirt and get you some merch. Someone says, I
am doing the t-shirt. I am. I'm going to take a few quotes out of this.
Going once, going twice. So
yeah, I'm going to put my you know how things like banknotes and things that got misprint on, they're worth more than the ones that are in good condition. I've got a misprint subpoena production from Blake Lively.
Oh, do the misprint on the t-shirt. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. And then someone said motion to squash. That is a good with like a squash, maybe motion to squash.
Yeah, motion to squash. I'm sorry. It's because of how many times I hear that, and honestly, God, I'm like, and it's from lawyers as well. I'm like, are you really a lawyer?
It wasn't funny until you told me. Like when I heard the motion to squash, I just thought like people were like misreading it or whatever. But when it became really funny to me was when you believed it from Omar that it was real.
That's on me. I trust him and his voice as well. Like I just can't read the guy at all. I cannot read and because he's got the same voice, whether he's joking or being serious. And I haven't quite. I need to spend more time with him. He's got to have me on a show again because I just need to spend more time with him and learn.
So when he's deadpanning you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him and Lauren's humor too.
I know. So, are we ready to get into UK law? Shall I educate people?
Hague Convention.
Hague Convention. So, my starting point is that in US litigation, it is considerably more difficult to obtain documents and testimony from non-parties in the United Kingdom than it is from US citizens. So I'm going to have an easier time getting out of this than like Lauren or Cassidy. I am. That does not mean she cannot bring me back. And this is how, because I'm explaining the actual steps here now. The Hague Convention and evidence, proceedings in other jurisdictions. To be entitled to examine or obtain documents from a non-party in the UK, US litigants must first submit a letter of request, also known as a letter rogatory, to the UK Central Authority, who then forward it on to the Senior Master of the High Court. The request must show that a non-party's evidence is sufficiently relevant to a material issue in the action. The British court must also be satisfied that the party seeking the discovery of the non-party could not obtain the information elsewhere, that it would be unfair to require a party to proceed to trial without this information, and that the non-party discovery will not lead to undue delay or unreasonable expense. Miss Lively's counsel has not followed any of these steps. They have instead chosen to send out a series of broad and improper subpoenas to tech companies, and this is one of my killer lines. They have chosen instead to send out a series of broad and improper subpoenas to tech companies and cross their fingers in the hope that some companies may fall for it. They have effectively abused their subpoena power to create what can only be described as spam subpoenas.
That's a t-shirt merch right there, spam subpoenas.
Spam
you said it on our live the other day on the morning show where you said they should be called spam subpoenas because when you get spam, explain the spam part because you think it's better.
Sorry, I thought Lara was calling me bitch tits then. I thought Lara was trying to get my attention. I was like, what? Because it was a joke, but basically in our group chat, the word sugar tits was getting used. So
yeah, I saw that today too. Like, I'm cutie pie number 2. But so it's spam. You said spam and what like when you get.
Well, I felt that the way these subpoena requests were handled, and like I say, UK is not big on the use of subpoenas particularly, but we do use them, and I found to have a typo is one thing, right? To then send it to an address which in X's case specifically, they say send it to their Texas address or their island address for Europeans. And she sent it to Nevada. And then to, the sweeping requests and everything, like the subpoena's clearly got irrelevant information on it, because if it's still got Leslie Sloan as a party actually on there. And it has Ryan Reynolds as a party in the present moment. And it's got the Wayfarer v. Lively case number as well. Well, that docket was closed on the 9th of June. So exactly. On the 3rd of July, they were sending out a subpoena which had old information on it. And they were kind of just scattergunning, seeing what I called it slapdash, the way that's been handled. It's like, oh, here, yeah, we're just going to pick. I don't even know what they picked, because Spiritual Shift actually said, when she had to look at some of the names on the X subpoena, a lot of the accounts were closed or they were suspended. So, and I think from what I can understand, I haven't heard of a single other person out of us 20 who's been contacted. No one has been vocal about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very bizarre.
Yeah, it is. So spam subpoenas. Laura, we need to make a list of all the merch ideas. Spam subpoenas, emotional squash. The spaghetti. Yeah. Can we do the throwing spaghetti against the wall? That was my favorite line so far.
Yeah, no, I come up with a few. But I was thinking of this, it was like, when you get a spam company and they just send out a bunch of emails, and 90% of people, 99% of the people will not bother opening them or responding to them. They'll just delete them. But you will get that small percentage that may actually respond. And that's what these subpoenas are like. It feels like they've just thrown them out, and if we get a response, great. I'm just not sure that they're getting the response they wanted, though.
They'll forever be spam subpoenas now.
They will be, yeah, they are spam subpoenas.
We got the ban sham subpoena, and now we got the spam subpoenas.
So the English courts have frequently interpreted the EPOJA to apply to narrow requests and are increasingly denying overly broad requests, which could be construed as fishing expeditions. And there I put a case in there. I put a few actually. So there's a BuzzFeed Incorporated and another. There's another case. So there's a couple of these are UK cases now where I'm saying, yeah, but you know, this law says if it's looks like a fishing expedition, they're not going to be okay with that. And then we get into the law that everyone loves, which is the UK General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR.
It was all over X. People were like,
it was all over it. We're not going to confuse it because, like, Shasti is, she's an EU. There is an EU GDPR, which is different. It's not much different, but you know, we've largely adopted the same principles. But ours is the UK GDPR, and we also have our beloved Data Protection Act 2018. And I do love the Data Protection Act. I can't tell you how many times I have referred to it. So the territorial scope of the GDPR would apply, namely because although X Corp isn't established in the UK, it offers goods and services to people in the UK or monitors the behavior of people in the UK. So I'm sort of explaining, look, yeah, it's an American company, but this UK law applies to it because they do this business in, you know, their business touches the UK and the nature of the business as well, where they, you know, it could be said they monitor the behavior of the UK, people in the UK. So that is why you got to start by saying, why does this law apply to this American company? So that's what that sentence is designed to do. Then I go on and say the UK GDPR applies to processing related to that targeting activity. X Corp is certified under the UK extension to the EU to US Data Privacy Framework, the DPF. X Corp's certification became active on the 4th of April 2024 and will be valid until the 3rd of April 2026. And then I put a footnote. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll see if it works. So
share the
yeah,
next
done that. Here is X Corp's certification for the data privacy framework. Basically, there's a date. So we've got the 4th of April 2024. That's when they became active, and on the extension as well. And then the next certification due is the 3rd of April 2026. So I've left that link there. Have I got to reshare the screen again, I think? Sorry, I come out of that and I have to now reshare the screen. Right, so that is what that link is for. Where am I?
We're in the GDPR. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm just finding where I was a minute ago. Right, so yeah, I'm here. Right, so there we go. Right. By the way, the notifications for Telegram keep popping up on the screen.
Oh, I don't see them.
So are they not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. So under the DPF, the US company must have a lawful basis for processing and disclosing data, such as consent, legal obligation, or legitimate interest. Furthermore, disclosure in response to a US subpoena may not qualify unless it aligns with a UK GDPR exception or is approved by a UK court. As a US entity, X-Corp cannot simply release UK citizen data, and I bolded that because I think that's such an important point. They cannot just hand it over to third parties, including courts or law enforcement, without ensuring GDPR compliance. Under the DPA 2018 and UK GDPR, personal data can only be disclosed if there is a lawful basis, such as consent, which I do not have, legal obligation under UK law, which there is not, or vital interest, which there is none. A US subpoena does not qualify as a lawful basis unless it is validated by a UK court. C. Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights and the Human Rights Act 1998. If all of that fails, which it won't, this will not, because this is a really strong, powerful law, and it's baked in human rights law. So, Article 8 guarantees the right to respect for private and family life, home and correspondence. When a US subpoena seeks data about a UK citizen, especially from a UK-based entity or under UK jurisdiction, Article 8 becomes a key barrier, unless 1. The request is lawful, necessary and proportionate. 2. It is processed through the UK legal channels, such as the Hague Evidence Convention, which is the first one we went through. And 3, the UK court determines that the disclosure does not violate any privacy rights. And I don't think as a court in this country it's going to look at Blake Lively's subpoena and say that does not violate someone's privacy. A UK company or data protection may refuse to comply with a US subpoena if doing so would breach Article 8 protections. Even if the data is held by a US company, UK GDPR and the Data Protection Act 2018 still apply where the data concerns UK citizens, which I am. I'm going to stop and have a look at the chat for a second before I go into the next bit. I get really, really snarky with the rest. So once we get past the law, then I kind of...
Yeah, you finish the bang for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I say a lot of stuff in there, which I'm sure Blake Lively is really not wanting to see on the docket. And I drop in a big bomb as well, that has not been before the judge. It needs to go. I like that. It needs to go before the. It does need to go before the court. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier in the stream, where the judge is only privy to what is in front of him and what he can read, whereas it's kind of like the Big Brother house. Like he doesn't know what's on the outside, like he's in his own little what's going on in there, and he can't. And so the only thing that's known to him is what's put in front of him, and that's why a lot of people were, talking about Van Zandt for the longest. Like, why is Brian Friedman not bringing up Van Zandt? I honestly think he was waiting for the right time, but the judge only knew what he knew when he knew it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go and have a look at the US law. So this is just for the sake of completeness, and hopefully it's to kind of help any of the American citizens as well that are on the same subpoena. It's just to kind of say, well, actually, also for these people, it's still not a good subpoena. So US law. Most of these issues have already been addressed throughout this motion under UK law because they are similar issues. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of completeness, I will address the effect of the US law on them. I've engaged in lawful commentary on a high-profile lawsuit, a matter of public concern. I'm not a party to the case, and I have no affiliation with any party. Plaintiffs have not provided evidence of wrongdoing, much less satisfied the burden for disclosure, merely because I express a perspective disfavored by the plaintiff. Disclosure in this context would chill lawful expression. So Rule 45D3A. The demand for extensive personal data, including banking information and geolocation, goes far beyond what is relevant or necessary. It has the potential for inclusion of private data of not only non-parties, but also the spouses and family members of non-parties who are included in joint bank accounts, live at the same address, share the same phone number, email address, credit card, social media accounts, or use the same IP address. I'm not a party to this action and should not be forced to bear the burden of compliance, much less my loved ones. Plaintiff cannot offer one single piece of evidence to explain or support these requests. The only reason I'm being pursued in this matter is because I do not speak favourably about Miss Lively, her husband, or her legal team, but are seen as abrasive, mean-spirited, and unprofessionally careless of any party's personal information, including their own clients. And I am going to go to that footnote because it's good. Where is it? I've lost the page I was on. Right, yes. Plaintiff included unredacted emails as Exhibit A on docket 402. So that was, I don't know if everyone remembers, that was when Lively whined about she included the Vin Diesel lawsuit, and then also included email correspondence. No, do you know what? I'm just going to pull it up. It's a lot easier. What is it? 402?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 402. I'll just quickly pull it up because it will be a lot quicker. This docket is wild lately, so much. Email correspondence regarding deposition. Is this it?
Yeah, this is the part that I had spoiled earlier about the addresses and stuff. So we've gotten to it. I had a.
So here we have it. Right? This email here from Stephanie Rosa, who emailed me. It was in the chain of emails I got back today, actually. So for security reasons, this is completely unredacted. Miss Lively's deposition will be held at the New York City offices of Wilkie, Farr and Gallagher, and then they go on to give the address. So then, bear with, I'm just coming back to this. Where is it? So that publicly disclosed the location of Miss Lively's scheduled deposition for the 17th of July. Just 2 days later, her counsel submitted.
Switch over this because it's still on the docket.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted to switch over.
No, I'm just quickly catching it up, and then I'll get it up on the docket.
Okay, sorry.
No, sorry.
Look out for you. I was like, wait, are we going back to the doc? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, we're good. Just 2 days later, her counsel submitted redacted copies of the same correspondence, again as Exhibit A on docket 16. So this was just 2 days later. Right, and here's the correspondence now marked redacted. Let's search Stephanie Rosa. And look, there is the same email I just read, now redacted.
Because the address was disclosed.
I literally started the sentence with "for security reasons." I mean, it's yes, that was so frustrating. So I'm going to go back to my motion. Just having said so. Yes, so the reason I kind of said all that was, look, you don't even look after your clients, data. You're not taking care of it. So why the hell would I trust you with mine?
And that wasn't even the first time because, I mean, obviously there was Jed Wallace, there was Steve Sarowitz, there was Jen Abel's address. There was plenty of times before that where the addresses were unredacted.
Exactly. So let me go on to Rule 45C2. In accordance with the Uniform Interstate Deposition and Discovery Act and the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, 45C2, subpoenas served outside of 100 miles of the issuing court must be issued in the court district of the entity being served. Now, this is where I made an error, because I assumed, and it says on X, that law enforcement, which should include subpoenas, is, service in Ireland or service in Texas. So I have gone here and done a whole thing. X Corp is based in Texas and Ireland, right? And then the footnotes are getting increasingly snarky. So then I put a footnote there. It says, footnote, nearly 1,800 miles for Texas and over 3,000 miles respectively. I'm talking about Texas and Ireland. I live in the UK, and then I put footnote again. I'm nearly 3,500 miles away. It's fair to say that the locations of both X Corp and myself exceed the limit of 100 miles under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure by a factor of 18 at minimum. Furthermore, as a UK citizen, X Corp in Ireland would be the data controller for my account, but plaintiff has served a subpoena for my information to the X Corp in Texas. Now, again, it's actually Nevada it turned out to be, but, there we go. I don't know why she served Nevada. F. So, Section 2702B3 of the Stored Communications Act. And that creates an exception based on lawful consent that applies to civil discovery. The SCA authorizes an ESC or an RCS provider to divulge the contents of communications when lawful consent has been given to do so. X Corp does not have my lawful consent to disclose any of my personal information. And then I do cite some case law there as well, where basically someone had brought a subpoena and the plaintiff sought the emails from 3 individual defendants, personal Microsoft, Yahoo, and Google accounts, and the court said no. So, and ruled that a Rule 45 subpoena does not constitute an exception to the SCA. So then we get on to some more general things. Now, this doesn't really, it does apply to me a little, but not a great deal. So there are some people who are entirely anonymous. They do not have their face. They do not have their real name. I do not have my real name, but my photo is me. So I object to the subpoena to the extent that it seeks information about many anonymous YouTube and X users without first obtaining an appropriate court order as required by the First Amendment. And here we're going to circle back to Van Zandt, because although they're given usernames, they're effectively treating it the same way as a John Doe subpoena. Like, well, we don't really know who these people are, but, tell us. So there is case law again. But before a subpoena can be issued to a service provider like Meta for information regarding the identity of an anonymous internet user, the party seeking the information must first persuade the court that there is a real evidentiary basis for believing that the defendant has engaged in wrongful conduct that has caused real harm to the interests of the plaintiff. So a couple more cases. Now, I'm not going to go into them because it's a lot. While attorneys affiliated with Manat, Phelps, and Phillips may be accustomed to filing sham Doe lawsuits, as they have done in this case, to access the entire contents of defendant Jennifer Abel's phone, in which they filed a fabricated complaint with false causes of action using Mr. Reynolds' shell company in order to serve a discreet subpoena to seemingly legitimize information they may already have been in possession of. I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to show you. There's a footnote here. Mr. Reynolds himself, as the CEO of Van Zandt Inc., for the first time on the 30th of June, and I have a screenshot in that exhibit of him being registered. Prior to this, Van Zandt Inc. was incorporated by Celeste Ryan of Ellis Incorporation, and I've got the original incorporation certificate, a service which specifically offers fictitious name filings as part of their services. And let's go and have a look at all of that. So here is the screenshot of the registration with Ryan Reynolds down here in pink. because why not? Here's the original certificate of incorporation. So they're color coded so everyone knows that they've come straight from my thread. But we have Celeste Ryan here in orange. And she is in purple here. The corporation she works for is LS Incorporation Services. And if everyone remembers, I did a bit of a deep dive, got a whole thread on it. Well, who are LS Incorporation Services? Now, initially, my thought process was Leslie Sloan. But it's not. So it's actually a company that's owned by Lisa Sawyer, for which Celeste Ryan works. And here in blue, I've kind of highlighted the services include name checks, filings of articles of incorporation, annual corporate minutes, and fictitious business name filings. So I threw all that in because
Wow.
why not?
Like, that is a deep dive. I did I miss the LS thread, or was that just a while ago that I just don't
I think
remember?
it might have been a time when you took yourself off for a bit.
Okay, because I was like, what? This is okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You went for it. You went for the jugular there.
Oh,
with the
yeah, no, I absolutely did. So once the Van Zandt lawsuit had served its purpose, it was quietly withdrawn without any Wayfarer party or their counsel being aware that it had existed. This is not the way to litigate fairly. Every person being served a subpoena has the right to be notified, legally represented, and protected either by counsel in a standard lawsuit or by a presiding judge who has heard the pleadings and determined the legal necessity of said subpoena in a DOE situation, so that DOEs may have legal representation to protect their rights. I have concerns that not all content creators will have the chance to defend themselves, since there is no complete list available for whom Ms. Lively has requested this overbroad, intrusive information from. And obviously that goes back to Kevin Fritz's letter now, doesn't it? That there is no list with all of us on it, despite how it was alluded to that there was, and the Blake Lively supporters ran with that. Actually, we're not on a list, and Wayfarer have now said, yeah, sure, show everyone the list. So, and I do think they did that as kind of a mark of protection, like, for us. They saw what was happening. Obviously, Cassidy's had already hit the docket. There were more coming. And, there was a lot of commentary being done about this. And they're clearly watching the accounts. And I think that Wayfarer come out and, put an end to the speculation. So, I request the court see that all DOE type subpoenas served without court order from the appropriate district court be revoked, and any future subpoenas of this type be properly filed by Ms. Lively, being required to present her prima facie case to the appropriate district court for a court-ordered subpoena to protect the First Amendment rights of everyone else involved. And this has not been done in my case so far. But again, I'm aware the First Amendment does not protect me, but I am on that subpoena with a bunch of, American people, and I stand with American people. So, hopefully, because multiple people were served by the same subpoena, and hopefully we can argue with it that if it's improper for one, it's improper for all 20 for the X. In the case of X, I think Cassidy has done a great job, championing the Google one. I don't know who's going to take the TikTok one, but hopefully someone will.
Mm-hmm.
So, in accordance with the Uniform Interstate Deposition and Discovery Act and the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, 45C2, subpoenas served subpoenas served outside of 100 miles of the issuing court must be issued in the court district of the entity being served. So it's just no, am I rereading myself? No, I haven't. No. Yeah, so I think I was reminding the judge at that point. Yeah, I did. Yes, that is the case. Like I cannot see that these subpoenas have been domesticated, and we know that I don't know where TikTok went, but I know that the X and the Google one, they've been served in California, but with New York subpoenas. So something doesn't feel right about that, and a lot of people feel like that, like not actually Golden, and many other
Yeah, I did see
legal commentators.
see her video saying that. Yeah. DFJ was saying, were any of the TikTok even real people? They all seem like AI accounts. I mean, that was my consensus with a lot of those accounts. I didn't see anyone that I recognized
I think
forward facing. Like most
I think
of them.
there was one.
Really
Was that there was that lady who hadn't she been fired by Blake Lively, or she once worked with her and had an awful
Sweet and salty
experience?
Lynn, but
I think
wasn't she in the? Oh yeah, she was in the TikTok one. Okay, yeah, she was then. I thought she was in the Google one too. I might be wrong.
I don't know.
She when DFJ.
I don't know. No, I don't know if it is Sweet and Salty Lynn.
I think that's the one who went to school with
No,
her.
yeah, she's the one I went to school with her, but I think there's another one who worked on the set of, I think it's Gossip Girl, and was like some kind of intern or something, assistant or something, and she ended up getting fired, or she nearly got fired or something, because she looked at Blake Lively. Oh well, Blake Lively accused her of looking at her. It was something really stupid, like diva. I can't remember her name, but yeah, there was one name I was like, oh yes, I have seen something she's done, but everyone else, no, I haven't seen them. H, disclosure would cause irreparable harm. So I'm concerned about the possibility of myself or my loved ones being exposed to the same harm that came to the Wayfarer parties. Safety and privacy are of the utmost importance. The chilling effect on protected speech and protected privacy, due to the concerns that come with private information being exposed, is profound. And I'm just going to quickly do these super chats, if that's all right, because I don't want to let them go.
Yeah, go for it. I love super chats. Thanks so much for the support for Leanne. She recently got monetized. I was on her live stream and they popped her monetization cherry, metaphorically. And it was just so fun just to see, the excitement and all that she was being so fully supported. It was actually on the chat where, she told her story in full. She had told it in parts before in other people's live chats or while talking with other people, but it was the first time that she got like really deep into it. So it was really cool that, she hit that milestone at the same time. So yeah, go for the super chats. I'm all for that.
Okay, so it's just Ricardo. Thank you.
To the Blake Shelton comment, where I was like, everybody thinks she's Blake Shelton. I think that was earlier. BL's random country singer. That's funny. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can anybody hear me? In the chat? Can anyone hear? Okay, I don't know where Leanne is. So y'all can hear me? I left and came back in. I don't know if there's a black screen. Okay. Oh, okay. She might have to re-upload it. Can she come back in? CJ, take it away. Okay. Let's I can't bring up the comments, but I can read the super chats here on the side. That was from Just Ricardo, and we have Asato Fuel Take sends a $9.99 super sticker. Thank you, Asato. I'll let her get through the super chats. Let's see what people are saying in the chats. It would have kicked her off. Was it Deseret? DFJ was saying, I don't know. I was covering the Desiree Hadley case against the Rock Nation CEO, and so DFJ's mentioning her name, saying, was it her? Because she's messed with a lot of people's allegedly streams and stuff. It says Shapiro. People are blaming Shapiro. I don't know what happened. It just I feel like Ashley Simpson. I don't know if anybody knows the Ashley Simpson jig in Saturday Night Live, where she just had to go with it. There was a technical difficulty, and I guess she was lip syncing, and then she does this little jig. I don't know. Maybe I'm dating myself. If anyone knows the Ashley Simpson jig in the chat, it was on SNL. When the lip syncing happened, yeah, Joy, remember that? That's how I feel right now. Da-da-da, let me do the jig. She's behind Yazzie. You're barely at the LS Corporation part. Yeah, I was gagged. I was like, jaw drop, wait, what? So I'm gonna have to go to her threads. I'm sure if you go into Leanne's X and then in the search bar type in LS Incorporation, you can find the thread that she did, because that's what I'm gonna do. That's how I'm gonna find it. Let me see. What else is in the comments? Who else? Oh, Ashka says she sure does remember. Go farther back, do Milli Vanilli. I am. I'm gonna do Milli Vanilli. Don't you know it's true, 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 true. You start yelling pink. Just I can't with y'all in the chat. Just start yelling bingo numbers. Sorry, that one got me. That one got me. A4. I don't know. Oh my God, you guys are hilarious. Let's see if there's an update from. We're giving Leanne 1 minute to come back into the chat and see what's going on. I think she's moving to another PC. There she is. Yay, Leanne!
I'm so sorry.
I just had to remove and then go back in, and it worked. So
sorry, everyone. I lost the internet next door in my house, so I'm in my next door neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I was trying to do super chats when I am. So sorry, everyone. I feel like it's one disaster.
I had your back, girl. I was in here. The chat had your back too. Between the chat and me, we got through it.
Tell me you rapped for them.
No, I should have rapped for them. A little known fact: I was. Am I still a rapper? I guess you never lose it, right? But I used to rap back in the day, and yeah, they both Laura and Leanne have heard my rapping. But no, I should have. I should have just freestyled a motion to quash, motion to squash, freestyle. But yeah, we kept the chat going. Thank you everybody for being so patient and staying on.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
I like to hear the rap.
Yeah, Mia wants to hear the rap.
Laura, you're so sweet. No, I'm not that good. She's really good. I don't know.
So just Ricardo, thank you so much. Legit, I thought Blake Lively was a random country singer. Yeah, I can see. I don't know. I hadn't even heard of Blake Shelton, to be honest. So But yeah, I hadn't heard of Blake Lively, before this
You don't
film.
know
I
who
really
Blake
hadn't.
Lively is either? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're like Mariah. I don't know any Blakes. Who are they? Blake who? Shelton's very popular, especially in Texas. He's very popular country singer.
Asado Field Takes, thank you so much for the super sticker. Oh, Roman, my husband. Hello, sweetie. Fuck Ezra's beautiful drafting. Yours is much better. He always knows what to say to me. He always makes me feel good about myself. Thank you, sweetie. Love you. And we have Anna and Grizu. Thank you ever so much. I'm sure Blake Lively's team wasn't expecting such articulated responses from content creators. Yours and Cassidy's are utterly awesome. Thank you ever so much for that. No, I'm pretty sure they were not calculating this response. I'm going to continue with it in a minute, but I am really proud of it. So, like, is there any truth that a minor was included in one of these? I don't think so. I don't, because I did look, and that account doesn't exist, and it's not on the subpoena either. So no, I don't think that is true. But if anyone has any information which contradicts that, I will happily sort of make that publicly known. But personally, I couldn't find it at all. Right, should we go back to this then? Where was I? I was here, wasn't I? Yeah. So, safety and privacy. Most experience.
You need to share the tab. It's blank.
Am I on this one? I am. Okay, so Miss Lively and her law firm, Manat, Phelps and Phillips, have already set one dangerous precedent during this lawsuit, namely the Van Zandt sham lawsuit, where Miss Lively obtained the entire basis of her retaliation claims spelled out in her CRD complaint, the New York Times article, and the subsequent lawsuit. Despite the New York standard for filing a Doe lawsuit outlined in Sandals Resort International Limited versus Google Inc., which there's the full citations basically. So with law, when we're talking about lawsuits, we just put like name versus name, and then if we don't want to put the whole citation, we just put a footnote, and then you've got to cite the whole thing. Which states where a petitioner demonstrates that it has a meritorious cause of action and that the information sought is material and necessary to the actionable wrong. In this case, the court ruled the petition fails to demonstrate that Sandals has a meritorious cause of action, adding, as the email at issue does not contain assertions of objective fact regarding Sandals, the email cannot form the predicate for a defamation claim based on the first criterion stated above. Furthermore, as Sandals offers no evidence of the harm the account holder's email has caused it, and this is the relevant bit, Sandals has failed to prove the fourth element of defamation cited above. Therefore, Google shall not disclose the requested information relating to the account holder. Accordingly, it is hereby adjudged that the petition is denied and this proceeding is dismissed. So the case is being used because what happened in that case is effectively that there was no evidence which supported any allegations of harm, and therefore Google was precluded from disclosing any information, and that's why it's being cited here. It appears that there could be no retaliation claims without the ill-gotten information obtained by the Van Zandt sham subpoena, which appears to be an abuse of process. And I've chosen those words very carefully. Yet, this case continues and now basically seeks mine and 19 others' private information. Miss Lively must not be allowed to collect such sensitive information to use in a harmful way again. The article, written by former defendant, New York Times, appears to have begun being written months before any judicial proceeding was ever filed in court, and states that information it relied upon came from thousands of pages of emails and texts, which we now know were produced by the Van Zandt sham subpoena. Do you know, well done to me, right, for being able to say Van Zandt sham.
Well,
So
did you write it?
is
Because
it,
the motion isn't up on the screen, so I'm like trying to figure out how if you wrote it that way, Van Zandt.
oh, is it not? Oh, did I forget to? Oh my
I
God, we
wasn't sure
should.
if you I tried to say it and then you were like, "Oh no, it's good." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh no, so I'm so sorry.
I was like, "Is it okay?" Oh, Van Zandt sham. Oh, so you put both. I was wondering. I was like, "Does it say Van Sham?"
No,
Because
it's Van
normally we
Zandt
say
sham.
Van Sham, but you said Van Zandt sham. It is a mouthful.
So obviously we've got footnote 23 immediately after New York Times appears to have been written months before, and then we've got footnote 24, which refers to the thousands of emails and texts that New York Times themselves say, we used this to write this article, but we now know that they were produced by the Van Zandt. So let's have a look at that. So footnote 23, and straight to the point, I discovered the 31st of October metadata, which proved that former defendants, New York Times, had been working with the Lively parties, past and present, for months before the CID was filed. And then I cheekily put a little link to my X account. Then footnote 24 says, that said, and this is important actually, this is quite an important message, right? So,
Mhm.
which we now know were produced, right? All these thousands of pages of text and emails, which we now know were produced by the Van Sham subpoena. And then my footnote goes straight to, that said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to assert my rights in this court and challenge this subpoena seeking access to my personal data, an opportunity that was denied to Jennifer Abel, whose private information was pirated through, and I'm quoting Lively here, legal process, including a civil subpoena.
I
And
love that. I love it because not only are you fighting for other content creators, you're fighting for Jen Abel in this hard.
yeah,
I love it.
I will say, because I always give credit where credit is due, right?
Mhm.
Ludwig helped me with that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ludwig.
Ludwig,
Um,
Ludwig, the amazing Ludwig who works with Kirby on those brilliant songs.
yes, he
Um,
does the graphic arts,
yes,
incredible
he does.
videos that he makes. Super amazing. My favorite is the dragon one where he's got like the woman like with the dragon, like petting the dragon and stuff. I love that
Yes,
video. So shout out to Ludwig for that.
yeah, definitely.
Team Abel, Team Jennifer Abel.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Ludwig is he was originally my honorary legal assistant, but he has now since been stepped up. He is now mine and Roman's honorary son. A little weird family that we have going on. But
Love it.
yeah, so yeah, we went hard for Jen Abel as well, and I'm very proud of that. Where am I now? So, Miss Lively and her law firm cannot be allowed to misuse the courts of New York as a witch hunt against those who speak their opinions about her conduct as a public figure and a party to a public judicial proceeding. And the footnote here, it goes straight to another link. Miss Lively stated on Late Night with Seth Meyers, I see so many women, especially right now, afraid to speak, afraid to share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent. So, right there, where I say, basically accuse Blake Lively and her law firm of misusing the court as a witch hunt against people like myself who use our voice to say our opinions, I immediately take, the judge then to a video of Blake Lively saying that, women are being silenced.
Yep.
Because I think it's so shitty and ironic what she's doing. She's going out there and, you know, flapping her gums about, you know, how she's here to speak for us and how she's here to lift us all up and everything because she's had such a traumatic experience. I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling silenced.
And you are a survivor, as well as Ken's is a survivor. She said that too.
Yep.
And then Lauren has said, you know, it's really ironic that, you know, she's coming after the same woman who she's saying, because it would be different if you guys hadn't gone through those experiences that she's saying that she's speaking up for. You know what I mean? I mean, it still would be bad, but it's even worse, I think.
And it's not just like, oh, it's just, you know, it's not even just women who have survived. Look at Andy. Andy is someone who's been falsely accused.
Yeah.
You know, he's had his own. He's been very open about it. I'm not going to go into detail, but he is someone who's been on kind of the Justin Baldoni end of this.
And that's why I always say, like, there's so many reasons why people related to this and went so hard. It had nothing to do with getting paid or trying to smear Blake. It was because they saw themselves in the situation somehow, and it stirred something up. It's like, that's why people fight for injustice. It's like, it reminds them of either a friend or someone, you know, like for me, I got really passionate about it when, you know, Lauren started doing those videos where, you know, like the victims or survivors would come forward and tell their stories.
Yeah.
I have to work hard on my beach house. Ludwig. He's the paralegal that's gotta work hard.
He's my son.
The survivors. Bruce is right. He's saying without their credit card numbers and their IP addresses, who knew?
Yeah.
Yes, Bruce, you're absolutely right about that. And yeah, she just keeps going after because if you guys are being watched, which I'm sure if you ended up on a list or, you know, like on the Google subpoenas, I meant, if you guys are in the subpoenas, that means that they're watching you. So they can't say, oh, I didn't know they were a survivor. I didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we are now coming to what is both a bit of an admission to Blake Lively's team, but also what is a bit of a bombshell as well, because this is something that should have been much bigger than it actually was, and it should have hit the docket, and it didn't. But I'm hoping it kind of does help in some way. So, are we ready for this?
Yep.
Okay. Where am I? I keep getting lost. I need to stop moving.
You need to go up a little bit, yeah.
No, I think I'm here actually. Yeah.
Right
I
there.
have never been contacted by any Wayfarer party or their council. However, I am not going to mislead the court and claim that I have never contacted Wayfarer Council. I have freely disclosed that I have sent information that I believe to be important to Summer Wayfarers Council via their publicly available email addresses, and this included the metadata discovery, which I put in, there was an footnote above, but also the video of a YouTuber, Colonel Kurtz, playing a uncovered recording of WME CEO Ari Emanuel admitting that he had terminated Justin Baldoni's contract with WME because of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And there it is. Footnote 6 is the link to Colonel Kurtz's YouTube video. I was never asked to do anything on behalf of any party. I have not been paid by any party, and the communications I did send of my own volition to Wayfarer Council received no response. It remains unclear by what stretch of the imagination Miss Lively believes that I am part of some secret plot to smear her when I have been open about what I have sent to Wayfarer Council. Furthermore, and this is a bit snarky, Miss Lively cannot attempt to obtain those communications from me, as I am under the UK jurisdiction. So
Colonel, I didn't want to spoil it today, but Colonel today was saying that she was outside with the boombox. Like, remember that Say Anything? John Cusack outside with the boombox. And she's like, "Where's my subpoena? Like, this is me outside of Blake's house." And I wanted to be like, maybe it's coming because you're about to go into the docket again, because she was already in it in Jed Wallace's. Well, not this docket. She hasn't entered, I don't think, in Texas. Jed Wallace's claims when she went out
Yes.
and protested at ACL. She was in there, but yeah, I didn't want to spoil it yet. So after the stream, I want to go back in the comments on X and say, Colonel Kurtz, yep. Be like, it might be coming. It might be coming.
Colonel Kurtz, because I was talking to her, and this is where I'll be very clear about this process, right? I spoke to Colonel Kurtz and I said, look, I'm thinking about adding this in, because I did send it to Wayfarer. So, if Lively gets Wayfarer's emails, and I don't think she should, because I've admitted exactly what I've said, and there is no more to it. I've always been open about it. That's the point. And I certainly won't going to sit here and pretend that I haven't emailed something that I have found that I thought was important over to Wayfarer, because it's in videos, it's in posts. I'm not going to kind of give them something, mislead them, just for them to say, "Ha, you lied." Now we have a basis to get everything. So I'm just going to say straight out, yeah, I have emailed Wayfarer's various lawyers with things that I have thought were important. It was the first thing I did before I ever even made any content, because the metadata was, I found that. The first thing I did before I put my video on X was email Brian Friedman with it. That changed the course of the entire lawsuit. The complaint was amended. We got that massive Exhibit A, which we all went bananas with. Us content creators, we were like, "Oh, dates, great. We got dates. We got information. Let's go."
What sucked for me with that is that I had already pieced together a timeline. I had a thread. I spent weeks just scouting what I could, and I had a lot of those dates wrong. But I remember I was like, "Oh my god!" And now there's the real timeline that just came out, because I had a lot of the stuff that I had pieced together from just stuff on the internet and sleuthed it, and with the help of other sleuths and stuff, where I was kind of piecing together what date Baldoni went off on Ryan Reynolds for the weight thing, and I made a whole thread, and then the official one, I was like, dang, all that work. But I was pretty close. There was some stuff that was that wasn't accurate, but for the most part, we were all pretty close. But yeah, that helped a lot, because then it helped narrow down exactly the dates of everything.
Yep, it did.
And how many times have you visited that since? That's our go-to sleuth.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I have to be really clear to reiterate, not asked by anyone. No Wayfarer party, no Wayfarer council. This is things that, like myself and CJ, we've worked together on so much. We do nearly everything together. And including each other's videos. I was in yours this morning. You're here now tonight. We do everything together. And there've been a few others that we sleuth with. I kind of merged into the dual kind of thing, where I did my sleuthing, but I also do the legal filings. But when I do my sleuthing thing, everything is done with CJ. And we have sat there and gone, do you know what? I can't sleep. What do you think of this? And what do you think happened on that day? There's something happened. I had a meeting here. And we have had so many wild conversations where, we're curious. We have a natural human instinct, and we're like, oh, what's going on? Let's sleuth it out. Let's have a look. But we have been asked by no one. And I did get Colonel Kurtz's permission to put this in case anyone thinks that, and the same with Andy with his bit. I asked both of them. I said, look, I'm thinking about mentioning this. I won't do it if you're not happy to. But they both consented, so that's why they are there. They are more than happy.
And you wanted Friedman to have it because it was something that was, quote unquote missing, or it accidentally didn't record, and so it was really important, because something that never really got to come up because of the dismissal. But when it comes to the him being fired and all that stuff, that was an admission right then and there in black and white. You could literally listen to it, saying that that the reason for his firing was not the accusations again. No, it was because I'm ride or die for the Lively Reynolds party. So it was something
he
that
admitted it. He admitted
always
what
said
he
it
did
up front too. You've always been. I remember before you got your subpoena, you were like, Like, why haven't I gotten a subpoena? I've literally been yelling from the top of my lungs that I sent stuff to Friedman's email.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't doing anything wrong. So, like, I didn't sit there and think, oh, I've got to keep the secret. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was using a publicly accessible email, and I was, it's like when you find a date like that, some of the images that are embedded into the New York Times, they've actually been there since 2 months before the CRD. Like, that's important. That's relevant, and from there it went on. I mean, Ari Emanuel, how could that have not been important?
Mm-hmm.
If they choose to appeal their claims for the economic losses and everything, that will be important. So it's there now. It's in the court. She can't pull it back out unless she files a motion to strike, but she shouldn't, because there's no grounds for it here. And then I kind of finish it off with, yes, I have contacted Wayfarers Council. No, it is not part of a smear campaign. I have not been paid. I have chosen to do it, and I've been very upfront and honest about that fact. But by the way, I'm in the UK, and you can't just subpoena my communications like that. So bye-bye. Nothing you can do about it.
Yep. So this is like a little bit of the mic drop here, but yeah, I love that that it is now part of the docket and is included. And so I don't know if Judge Lyman's going to click on that link and go and listen to it.
He should do, if he's doing his job properly.
Must Be Real says, so bye-bye. I loved it the way you said it. So bye-bye.
Yep. But yeah. Hold on. You're saying that Blake Lively, the attorneys knew none of the subpoena contract. The attorneys would have seen the list that was under the attorney's eyes only, but because they were under attorney's eyes only, they were kind of what appears to have happened, and I don't want to say for sure, but it's what it is looking, they were trying to they were filing things that publicly suggested that all of us content creators were on this list. And when Kevin Fritz did his letter yesterday, he basically said, go ahead and unseal. Like, his Lively was like, oh no, compel them to unseal. And I think she expected them to fight to keep it sealed. And they called her bluff and said, go on then, unseal it. There's no content creators on there, apart from one who, only reached out for a comment. Mm-hmm. So when this gets unsealed, if it's got my name on there or any other content creator other than the one, then I'm going to be pretty pissed off with Wayfarer. I will be brutally honest, because I have not participated in any smear campaign. Like Lauren said, unless someone has misrepresented themselves to me, but I haven't been going around getting people's comments and getting tips and things. I find my own stuff and I comment on the legal filings. That's it. I'm not going around, I'm not like Andy, looking for people, to who get in touch and send him stuff, or Candace Owens. I'm not that kind of person. I do my own content and I do my own sleuthing and I present my findings, and that's it. There are some things people send a couple of things, and I have gone, oh look, but I've always credited that person with it. I haven't said, made it sound like it's my find. So there's not even any secrecy there.
And like, I know we've gotten tagged in stuff where people will tag us like, hey, but most of the time we do our own research of it and like, sleuth it out, make sure that it's accurate and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just, it seems like they're trying to cause chaos in the community by saying that there was this list. And then thinking, that's my theory, my opinion only, allegedly, that because they knew that the attorney's eyes only, was on there and they didn't think that TAG was going to want to unseal it, that they said it because they thought they were covered by that. And that's my theory.
So that's where we left off, right? So it was like, that was me basically saying, do you know what? Yeah, I've sent some stuff to Friedman. I've sent some stuff to Fritz. There was another lawyer as well who works at Friedman's office, whose name is not on the docket, so I'm not going to announce it. But, I copied that person in as well. So there've been like a handful of things I have sent over. I have never had a response, and I can say this is why. This is exactly, I don't expect one, and this is why. Because if they'd responded, it would have been, "Ha, look, see, they're doing it for you. These people are doing your behest." I think was the word she used. No, I'm not. I've not been paid. I wasn't even monetized until last week on YouTube. I've literally just been monetized. I work so incredibly hard in different time zones and keeping track of so many different jurisdictions as well. And, with Expos, it's not the same as jumping on a live like this and reading something. I got to sit there, think about it. I got to then prep all my papers and everything, do all the uploads, and then type. And I can be typing for hours with some of those threads, especially, the more than 100 pages. The over 1,000 pages was just a joy. That took nearly 20 hours to do. But so I've worked incredibly hard, and I'm happy that I'm finally monetized. But I am not getting paid by anyone, and I'm happy in myself.
Yep. I mean, you
But
worked
that's not
really
what's
hard with
happening
those
here.
legal threads. Like those legal threads got harder and harder and then you were covering not just Lively, Reynolds, Wayfair. You were covering Abel, Jones, Wallace. I mean, there was a point in time where
And all the side dockets as well, with the various
Mhm.
subpoenas, with the content creators in California, the Meta one and Pinterest, and then there was the Venable one as well in DC. We got
Oh yeah, I
the
saw those.
Friedman one, which is just
So
moved.
many side quests.
Oh my gosh, so many side quests.
And Alex
And
says that even Friedman said that online sleuths uncovered a bunch of things. Like he shouted us
yeah,
out a couple times,
yeah,
and
he
there's
has.
nothing legal about that. Like for us to
No,
sleuth, like that's not us doing anything wrong. Like it's
no,
it
people
was
are
done in the
wanting.
Petito case, which is like true
Yeah,
crime or whatever. But I mean, web sleuthing has been going on in true crime for a really, really long time. Um,
yeah,
I
and
mean, that
people are
crossed over
willing
into
to help. You know,
celebrities.
uh,
Go ahead.
people are actually willing to help in this case. I've
Hmm.
given up days, weeks, and months of my time for nothing, and I am more than happy to do it if it ends up making a bit of difference. Because since I've been covering this, that it's not for me. It's not even just been about the Wayfarer parties. Brett and Aiko's story has made some movement and is getting heard. It's
Hmm.
helped them. It doesn't matter. It's it didn't work out with the docket thing in the end, but other content creators, listened and retold their story and platformed them on the channel and gave them a voice, and that is important. And then this document, and I'm just
Oh,
speaking.
there's Aiko in the chat with the
Oh,
little
hi, Aiko. Hi, Aiko, sweetheart.
Sorry, I was
Um,
saying, but even the
and
doctor
then
that you like shared his story because he would have gotten smeared. I feel like you kind of turned it around when you did your deep dive on him, the surgeon guy, the actor that was
is it
the
Adam Monshine?
yeah Adam Monshine. Sorry,
Yeah,
I should remember his
yes,
name now. But
because
even
I
that,
did
like,
my
you did
deep
justice to
dive.
Adam Monshine because you were the first. I mean, later on, MSM caught on, and I don't know. I don't want to toot your horn, but I'm going to be like toot toot because right
No,
after
I
you
know
did your
you
deep
did.
dive, then MSM picked it up
And
and.
he came out himself then and spoke. He came
Mhm.
out right after I did my deep dive,
Yep.
calling her a liar, and basically I brought out all his credentials. I also brought out his wife's credentials because she's an actress, and she is actually the friend of Justin Baldoni. They work together on Clouds, and when I put it all together, Adam Monshine did come out and say,
Mhm.
he gave his story, what happened on the set.
So
And
just
because
for
that man was being smeared, right?
yeah,
Let's face
he
it, he was
was.
being smeared. He wasn't even on the docket, so he could defend himself.
Mm-mm.
And that was awful. And also, do you know how many times with the two lawsuits, and lawsuits are my thing, right? So I've been looking at lawsuits, and I've had so many people pro Lively come to me and say, "Oh, Justin Baldoni, didn't he stole something from that dead guy, and then he discriminated that black guy?" And I'm like, Jesus Christ, they have names. And no, none of that happened. So I had to pull up the lawsuits of all of that, do my deep dives on all of that so I could tell these people's real stories. And, and one of the threads on Reddit where I was actually talking about the Shane Norman situation, which was the racial thing, Shane Norman himself actually come into the threads, and the person I was like, no, you're getting the story wrong, and let's not be bringing these people in. They are not part of the lawsuit. Shane Norman himself actually entered that thread and went, exactly, thank you. I want these people to leave me alone.
Yeah, so you've done a lot of work.
I've done that, yeah.
That's why I'm glad that you're, getting a lot of like the credit that you deserve now. With
and the other person as well, I've had a big thank you off as well, is when Van Zandt was going around, before anyone knew what it was Van Zandt, and they were like, well, there's a subpoena, and they were spitballing ideas on Reddit of, well, there's that lawsuit, the aviation gin one with the photographer. What could that have been? Did she file a fake lawsuit? And we're talking about Marilyn Starkloff here, and I'd read that lawsuit back to front, and it was an absolutely genuine lawsuit, and she settled. Ryan Reynolds settled that, by the way. And Marilyn Starkloff actually DM'd me on X and thanked me for standing up for her and fighting back. And as it did turn out, her lawsuit had nothing to do with that subpoena. It was Van Zandt. That came out only a couple of weeks later. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've achieved something, but
yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, you've been out fighting for justice just on your own time, and I remember you said on my show like how valued you felt when these things came to fruition. Like the things that you did had a purpose and a reason. Like you felt, especially because you had come out of that long relationship that was toxic and real frightening. And then for you to finally start to build yourself up, and then the community built you up. And so it was something that was much needed for you. So I'm just so happy that you got that. Like at the same time that you're fighting for people, you're getting the recognition for doing that.
Now I'm fighting for myself.
She's putting more of a spotlight on you. So thank you, Blake.
Yeah, but this one is personal. And I think there were times when, I kept it. I didn't go as hard as like Cassidy went quite hard for the judge. I've done none of that because at the same time I still have a professional side. I still have to, sort of maintain the integrity of the court and and the judicial system. So I'm not going to go and bash judges. I do, and I shouldn't really be snarking at the lawyers either. But she really annoyed me with this. She annoyed me with the silly errors and the haphazard slapdash way that she's throwing them around. It's almost like she's turned these subpoenas into paper airplanes and just let it go to see where it lands. It's really annoying. Wow, I'm coming up with the metaphors tonight, aren't I? So basically I sort of say, right, you can't get my communications. I'm out of your reach. I'm beyond your reach. Miss Lively proclaims herself to be the voice of women and vowed to not stop talking for us, while simultaneously causing lasting harm to woman after woman. I have not engaged in any smear campaign, nor has Miss Lively offered a modicum of evidence to support her belief to the contrary. I should not have to endure this abusive and harassing attempt to violate my privacy rights, as well as my right to comment on a public lawsuit. And I used those words there to describe the subpoena as abusive and harassing because they were specifically selected because if everyone remembers, that's how she described Friedman's subpoena on Venable. Abusive and harassing. So I think about everything. So yes, as well as my right to comment on a public lawsuit, then we go to a footnote made public at the outset by Ms. Lively, making the choice to put the contents of an otherwise confidential CRD complaint into the New York Times.
Ooh.
So I've left.
Ends with fire.
Yeah, I've left. So, conclusion. This subpoena fails on multiple grounds. Aside from the obvious jurisdictional defects which Ms. Lively cannot overcome, it is breathtakingly overbroad and invasive, putting not only myself as a non-party to this case at risk, but also my loved ones who share bank accounts, credit cards, physical addresses, IP addresses, phone numbers, etc. It is baseless, since there is not one shred of evidence that I am or have ever been paid by any of the Wayfarer parties or their counsel, or affiliated with them. Or anyone affiliated with them. The evidence does not exist because it did not happen. This is yet another misstep that will bring even more criticism to her already shattered public image. Then there is the relief request. So I respectfully request that the court, 1, revoke this and all non-party subpoenas served on internet providers, phone providers, and social media and streaming sites such as Google, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Reddit, etc., that have not been properly presented to a court and had a prima facie showing that led to a court order permitting the subpoena to be served, noting that an out-of-district subpoena must also pass the inspection in the district it will be ultimately served in. 2. Alternatively, quash the subpoena served on X Corp for Movement 10 and all others 1 to 20. 3. Alternatively, because you've got to give plenty of choices here, quash the subpoena for Movement 10 as I am beyond reach, and the subpoena does not adhere to proper protocols for foreign citizens. 4. Alternatively, accept a declaration from Movement to confirm they did not participate in any smear campaign or create content on behalf of any of the Wayfarer parties or their counsel. 5. Now here I'm asking for a protective order pursuant to Rule 26(5)(c). This is me saying to the judge, look, can you quash this subpoena? And also, can you put a protective order in place to stop her from trying to subpoena me again? 6.
Yep. You're
Grant,
covering all bases here.
Oh, very much so. 6. Grant such other further relief as the court deems just and proper, including but not limited to sanctions for costs to cover this completely unnecessary and violating subpoena served without court order, cause, or reasonable explanation. It has already consumed days of time to determine its validity. Respectfully submitted, me.
And there it is.
Oh.
That's the motion. And it took you, possibly all of the weekend
Yeah.
to work on that?
I did, because I've been doing other people's as well. So thankfully, the American law that is pretty uniform across all the motions to quash we're working on. But I've had to, go and pull together the Canadian law for the Canadian people within this. Obviously Ashley, and I've had to pull together British law, which is not a difficult thing for me, but I still have to go and do it. But the snark, I wanted a motion to quash that pretty much had a really good go at litigating the Wayfarer's defense for them.
Did you want to put us back on the screen because it's just black?
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Me. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just to finish it off, I loved how it was a mix of the law in between. It didn't get too deep into story, because it would be story and then law and then story and then law. So it all kind of flowed for me. I really liked how that how it flowed that way, where you were able to have your voice and say things and then still have the law. And I think that's just like you, because you're half law, half snark.
I am. I have
your personality.
I have my kind of writing style is very similar to Kevin Fritz, to Brian Friedman. That's why I love doing their filings. It's not because they are, representing Wayfarer and I'm some super fan of Wayfarer, of Justin Baldoni. I like Justin Baldoni a lot, and I have grown a lot of love and respect for the rest of the Wayfarer parties because of all of this crap they've had to endure. But I love the legal writing skills of Brian Friedman and Kevin Pritz for no other reason than I just think their style is brilliant. You know, there's obviously a PR side for Brian Friedman, and I think he's done a great job with that. The PR is definitely back in Justin Baldoni's favor, and certainly after all of these subpoenas, it really is, because I think if Blake Lively was making any kind of headway with some support, she's just lost it all and more.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of like the chatter is, that she keeps digging and digging and digging, and
Yeah,
it's I always go back to the Taylor Swift approach, when like with the Kim Kardashian, when she was fighting with Kim, how she just
yeah,
like left, and like which it shouldn't happen, where you have to like isolate yourself or whatever, but she just left, isolated herself, and then expressed herself through the art. And I feel like the stuff with Baldoni was not, in my opinion, allegedly, what she claims. We've seen no evidence of the SH yet,
no,
but that it was more of like she felt uncomfortable, basically like how he was acting or whatever, and it didn't escalate itself to putting him in a basement, isolating him from the cast and crew, all of that stuff. And then even after the fact, people had already kind of forgotten about it. And Ashley did an episode where she was like, looking at the social blade, how like her followers are starting to go up, and then she dropped that lawsuit in December, and then it literally plummeted below like the line where she was losing followers after the complaint came out, where things weren't adding up or whatever. So that was like her first kind of like, okay, you shouldn't have done that. But then she kept doubling down and doubling down, and then we found out about Van Zandt. So like the more stuff we're finding out, that the Deadpool stuff with Nice Pool and Aiko and all that stuff came out. So it was like we kept seeing more and more and more that was organic. It was like the Flossom, the Shirsty Flaw video times 100. Like everybody was digging, and we found it all. We found all her interviews, we found all that stuff, and then people kind of forgot. Like Candace, in the chat, they're saying Candace was kind of like not covering it anymore. I think a lot of people got like fatigued from covering it, and there was not really much going on in the docket with the main case. And so they didn't cover it. I don't know if people stopped covering it because they were afraid of them or whatever. I think it was more the fatigue, and then it was just tiny things. Like, remember how worn out you were with having to cover everything every day, because every day something comes. So I think
kind of all snowballed, didn't it? Like it was like all the Lively, Reynolds, Sloan parties all together were filing all these motions all over the place. And I'm like, I literally, there was like a couple of days in 1 week where I was like having to send filings to other people and say, right, can you start going through that with a highlighter, please? Because I can't keep up with this. There's more than one person can physically do.
That's how Ludwig got his Hamptons house.
Yes, that's how he became my legal assistant. I sent him to him and Lara, my.
But it was like Candace
producer
wasn't covering it, and then they subpoenaed her, and then she did an entire episode, like uncovering even more. So it's like, you guys keep like, just, I don't know. I'm always a big fan of the 24, 48-hour news cycle. Like, let it die down. And I'm glad that article came out that she's in quote unquote hiding now, because I'm like, that's what you should have done in the beginning. Wait for the legal process to go out and not be flaunting about giving people more ammo.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm just going to say, Joy in general, thank you ever so much for that. Could Blake use the names and addresses to attempt to file protective orders? I think we were anticipating that. That's why I rushed. Well, I didn't rush, but that's why I got mine in, quick. Like, because again, if she does, that's just absolutely absurd. It's silencing again, because we are entitled to respond to these things. And I do hope that all 43 people respond to them and, push back hard, because it needs to happen. It needs to happen, because the thought process, right? All these people are content creators, even these small ones. Yeah, no one has been safe. It's been large content creators, it's been small ones, it's been everything in between, right? But anyone who does anything that could come under the umbrella of, content creators, and there's a bunch of people in the chat who I would consider a content creator. And if she got all this information subpoenaed on the grounds that she hasn't presented grounds, that's just it. But if she does get this, that is going to cause a shockwave, because then anyone can just subpoena someone's data because they talk about something which is public anyway. That's really an unpalatable situation to be in. I'm not prepared to be in that situation, and I don't think any single person should be allowing that to go through. And this is why I was saying earlier, there absolutely should not be if you've done nothing wrong, then you've got nothing to hide. That's just coercing someone into dropping their privacy to appease you, to prove a point. No, that's not how that works, right? She's in a lawsuit. She proves her case. It's not the other way around. So
yeah, and going after the content creators created, chaos for us for a little bit, but she underestimated the fact that it would bring us all closer together and that it would actually amplify their voices instead of shutting them up, because people double down. Like, I don't know, I might have, if I had gotten subpoenaed, I might not have been as, I don't know, in that situation. Y'all have made me braver through the months, but I know that initially when I remember I went on Andy's Eldrick's remember that kid pull stream?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a scaredy cat. Like, I'm afraid of, something's going to happen, like, Ryan and all this stuff. And so, I'm glad that everybody who did get subpoenaed was brave enough to fight back and stuff. And, that everybody had each other's back. And, the people who were who were feeling a little bit shaky with it, they had somebody there to build them up and say, you got this, like, we're going to do it together. So not only did she succeed in bringing the community closer, it also gave the community a bigger voice. I think even if MSM hasn't, covered it, shout out to Josh Boswell, who, again, did an article on Saturday today.
I'll pull it up in a minute, actually, but I'll tell you what, this is a great comment. Yes, it is absolutely going to set a precedent. I think so. But, the irony of all this, right, is all the people, I've had to endure a lot of people saying, oh, well, you're from the UK. You don't understand American law. I've heard that so much, right, from so specific content creators and a couple of their diehard followers, right? Very almost xenophobic type comments of, well, what do you know about US law? They say it as if it's written in a foreign language, when US law actually is written in more English than English law is. English law is very Latin heavy. So actually the US law is easier in many ways to follow because there is more straightforward English in it. But now we're in a situation where, we've got this thing going on. We've been pulled into, and this is before I got my subpoena. People with the Google subpoenas, and the first thing I said is, "How can I help? Let me help you write something." And now I'm helping curate legal filings to help American citizens to fight in an American lawsuit, and not just American ones, Canadian ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who I'm helping have never once doubted my technical ability, my skill. Not once. Not once is the fact that I'm not an American lawyer been a problem or a barrier. They've had me on their shows. They've been on mine, and we work together wonderfully. But like the amount of time I was hearing, oh, well, you don't know, you don't understand our system. Actually, yes, I do, and it does. It instilled a lot of faith in me to have people come to me and ask for my advice.
And you're a bookworm, okay? What I don't know about Leanne is that she be staying up all night researching U.S. law. I mean, for all those threads that she did, she's probably can take the bar by now in the U.S. Like,
oh yeah, no. Well, I actually studied the New York bar through Barbary. I did actually study the New York bar. I didn't do the exam, but I think I got halfway through it, but then
But I know you studied a bunch to get through those threads where you like will look up everything and cross reference. And she's a little bookworm over here.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I will be taking the bar after all of this. That's the goal. I've enjoyed it. I enjoy the fact that American lawsuits are so much more interesting. Well, the American lawsuits of today are more interesting than the English ones, but the historical English lawsuits are so much funnier and bizarre. So, but we got a whole segment coming on that. But
yeah, we're gonna collab on doing
we're gonna collab. There's a little thing from Lara. Thank you so much, Lara. Right, speaking of standing ovation, Lara, I can, aside from CJ, Lara is my right hand or left hand woman. I'm left-handed. And honestly, I would be so lost without her, right? Because she keeps me in check. She helps me organize collaborations. If there's any fires to put out, she helps me out with that. She gives me so much advice. She just talks to me. She's my friend. She's like my sister. Myself and CJ, we're obviously like sisters too. And we have Lara now in our little fold, and I can't.
And
I can't say enough how hard she works, and not just for me, but she's a moderator for many, 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 many people, like Donna, like Lauren, like CJ. I mean, there's just loads of people she mods for, and she is just a legend.
Someone was saying, does she sleep because she's the hardest worker? But I'm like, wait, is Roman my nephew? Not Roman, is Ludwig my nephew then? Because if he's your son,
yeah. Well, Roman's your brother-in-law.
Roman's my brother-in-law, and Ludwig's my nephew. Come Christmas, I need to make sure I send the present to my little nephew over there.
What is this? Is this about the?
Also, be better. Yeah, we were talking about people who haven't really covered the case or come back, who were like hardcore.
Oh, okay.
But Be Better always covered it like with the big news. He was never like a daily commentator. Like me and Leanne, it'll be like we just saw Michael Gottlieb crossing the street, breaking news. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Because I'll report on every little thing.
I like that though. I only cover really this case and the 7M case, which is Without a Crystal Ball's case, that she's a dependent in, and I cover them too. And I mean, there's not much going on in the 7M case at the moment anyway, not too much. So this is a daily thing, and because I've not focused on other cases, I've kind of become, like I can recall anything and everything in a moment's notice with us. I would get so bogged down and distracted if I tried to cover other cases as well. So I'm kind of glad I'll see this one through, and then there'll be other things then I will do after this, I guess.
Well, you come on the morning show to cover cases, the objection show in the morning. And
I do, yeah.
Leanne will go blind and be like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, I don't know. Today we were talking about Ye, and I'm like, do you think that him saying that he was, acting crazy because of the nitrous oxide, will that be illegal to feds? And she's like, okay, I'm not giving legal advice here, but, possibly try. Don't know if he'll be successful, but it's a lot of fun to have her and show her new cases because she's normally just with the, she has so much work with the Blake Lively, so it's fun when she can come and collab.
We have Dr. Justice, thank you. Nice to see you. Yes, there is a bar complaint. We are actually, I'm a signatory on that too. I have joined. There are a few of us actually, because it's disgraceful. This subpoena is a disgrace, and I don't know how they can sit with a straight face and be okay doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I think this subpoena has been one of a couple of things. I do think it's a fishing expedition. Let's see what we can get from the tech companies. But also, because I've seen someone say like, "Oh well, it's past the deadline," and well, they probably just won't comply. A subpoena is not an optional thing. You can't just say no, right? Even if it's an improper subpoena, you have to go to the court and say, "I think this subpoena is improper for these reasons." Otherwise, you can still be held in contempt. It's as simple as that. It's like Stephanie Jones. I do not like sticking up for this woman. I cannot stand her. And I always do. Whenever I do her filings, I've always got Cruella de Vil gifts because that's the vibe I get from her. But one thing I will say about her though is when she was given the bandstand subpoena, and I know it was a sham. I know it was coordinated beforehand. I'm not, you know, I'm all the evidence points to that. That is my belief, allegedly. But having been presented with the subpoena, if she had said no, she could have been taken to court and faced contempt of court. So, you know, there was not an option once she was actually served the subpoena. There's not. She can't sit there and go, "No, I'm not going to do that." And anyone who suggests that the tech companies can do that here is mistaken. That is why Facebook and Meta and Pinterest are fighting the Stephanie Jones subpoena request in California. You can't just say no because you don't agree with it. It's a subpoena. It's not optional. But I have joined the bar complaint as well. Amy, thank you so much, Amy. Yes, we are all living in a moment of history that will be discussed for generations. This, I'm not even kidding, right? I will do something like a T-shirt design with some of the slogans that have been that are in my motion to quash. I will also do something that maybe has my, my typo production request because it's got a typo, it's worth more. So I will do something. I'll put something that on something. I don't know, mouse mats and stuff like that. But for the inconvenience and for the pure fun, and the fact that 5 months ago I wasn't doing anything really, with my life, particularly in terms of social stuff. I wasn't even on social media really. And I'm not quite sure what happened with my channels all taken up and everything. It's been amazing. It's happened so fast. It's knocked the wind out of my sails, and nothing prepared me for it. But I am having a great time. I'm meeting so many lovely people. But now my name is in this lawsuit. I'm in the lawsuit that has Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and that is going to be a talking point for the rest of my life. And not only that, I have filed a motion against these people. And if I am successful,
that's a story you'll be able to tell the grandkids.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tell the story. Like, my husband's already started doing it. Oh, my wife, blah, 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 and it's like, it's so surreal to be saying this. Like, it's crazy.
And you remember Ashley, Brianna Eve, when she had her horse sick, remember? And the vet was coming over, because that's the messed up part. It was like, these people are real people with real lives. And when the lawsuits hit, like, they were dealing with real life stuff. And Ashley was dealing with a sick horse. And the vet was like, I think she was like, yeah, I'm in a lawsuit with Blake Lively. He was like,
I know. It's but it's true, though. It's absolutely crazy. I didn't see this happen on my bingo card at all. But, it's happening. I'm going to do my best to fight for my rights. And if I can fight for anyone else's along the way, I will. I don't think this is all necessary. All I wanted to do was talk about a lawsuit that had a lot of significance to me. Not the lawsuit particularly, but the film was important. For all the reasons I said in the motion, this film was important. The marketing was just, I don't even know what the hell that was. But I wasn't even talking about that publicly then at the time. It was private thoughts, And then when the CRD dropped, things just didn't make sense. It didn't look proper. And then you had Wayfarer come out with all the receipts. And it's like, right, yeah, I see what happened.
I just heard about all like the wardrobe stuff and all that stuff, like in passing, because I had friends who had read the book or whatever. And so I would hear it like in passing and stuff, like when we'd have like, girls' nights or whatever, where it would be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, this happened or whatever. But it wasn't like I was ever interested in it, because I didn't really like Blake Lively like that or anything. But even like with marketing stuff, I remember like on TikTok, it would sometimes come up on the FYP or whatever. But I never paid attention to it, because it was just like, oh, like your random celebrity gossip. It wasn't until it got like, that lawsuit where I was like, oh my gosh, like that happened to her. That's so like, So I know you sniffed it out early, and a lot of people sniffed it out early, but I didn't. I was one of the ones that was like, and it wasn't until Ari Jacobs, she was the one who was my red pill. on X, she wrote like, something's fishy about this. The New York Times tried to take me down, and then that's when
Yeah.
I started like delving deep. It was her and Colonel really, and then
And that's been
yeah.
the weird bit for me personally. Like, if I say this, like, there are so many people. Like, I've been following so many people like Popcorn Planet and Colonel Kurtz and all kinds of people, Tug. Now all of a sudden these people are following me. They're talking to me. They're helping me. They're coming to me and asking, oh, what happened here, or what do I think of that? And it's like, oh my God, these are people who only a few years ago I was watching them, and then there's the side characters as well that no one's really thought about. Like some crowning moments of this lawsuit is getting to know, well, not getting to know, but meeting people and hearing stories and connecting with people like Marilyn Starkloff, who has sued Ryan Reynolds, like Shane Norman, who has, who was in a lawsuit with Wayfair and Justin Baldoni, but withdrew it with no settlement, by the way, just to clarify that. And oh my God, there was I've got such a passion, right? When I watch Jane the Virgin, I love Jane the Virgin, yeah. My favorite character in that is Rogelio, right? Who's played by Jaime Camille. And I just think it's a great program, right? It really is. All the actors are absolutely spot on. They are the most perfect picks for the roles. But I really think like, oh my God, that would not be what it was without Jaime Camille. And because he's just so funny, he is hilarious, and he makes it into a proper telenovela feel to it. He brings that. And I remember when I tweeted something, and I was like, well, I can't remember what it was. It was something about being team Raphael and team Michael Cordero. And I was like, oh, I love them both. I really couldn't decide, At the start, I loved Michael, but then when he came back as Jason, I didn't really like the character too much, and I was team Raphael. But overall, I've always been team Rogelio, and I tagged Jaime Camille in it, and he loved it.
Yeah, I remember you shared that with me. You're like, oh my God.
Oh God, do you remember how excited I got about that? I was like, oh my God.
Yes, you're like it's Rogelio. That was a real cool moment for you.
Yeah,
But
no.
people who we used to watch back in the day, like Colonel, I used to like lay in my bed and like scroll Twitter with the Marilyn Manson stuff and like refresh because she was the only one that had like the, hot take basically when Evan Rachel Wood was exposed with like her fake letters and stuff. And I remember like hitting refresh and like I, literally live on her thread. And then now like I did a collab video with her and I'm like, oh my God, it's so surreal. It's so crazy.
Elizabeth, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. That was really kind. Talking about the motion there, it was rich with relevant points from the case, and that was the purpose.
Viola wanted to know if you think that Abe is correct in her take on the subpoenas being gag orders placed on the creators.
Who? What? I missed. Right. So who said that, and who's take?
Viola 90. Oh, sorry. You can take this comment, but she was asking. It's Victoria. She's asking. What did you think of Abe's take on the subpoenas being the first step into trying to get the gag order?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do, and that's why I went on a whole monologue of this is really important. Like, this is not about. I've had a lot of people say, "Well, what are you worried about? They've subpoenaed Google, not you." Well, yeah, of course, great, but they've not subpoenaed Google for Google's information. They've subpoenaed Google for my information, and I don't have to be okay with that. We sign user agreements or things, or usually tick a little box that says I have read this and I agree to it. And Google and the various platforms, they have to abide by certain rules, and that is not mean that just because they hold your data they can give it away. And especially in my situation where they've had to agree to various treaties and directives and all kinds of things. They were kind of tied into both EU and because EU law does, some of it still does apply. It's not like we've left the economic market and the kind of free movement side of it, but some EU law is still in force. and European Convention on Human Rights, which is not an EU dedicated law, which is contrary to popular belief. But you can't just give someone's data away. That's not how that works. There are processes that people have to go to. Data is your most precious commodity. Why do you think people, sell it so often? Because it has value to it. What the hell did Blake Lively want with my stuff, with my phone number, my address? Why? Why does she want that? And she hasn't told anyone. That is the problem, right? Is I'd be happy to sit down and talk and say to her, right, okay, talk me through it. Why do you want it? What is your plan? What are you going to do with it? And maybe I would be more amenable that way. But what she has done is she has subpoenaed a company that holds my data. She has misspelt my name, so I haven't even had the notice. And she has subpoenaed us 2 days after, technically, the deadline. We know nothing about whether the deadline's been moved. People are like, oh, well, there was a typo. What are you worried about? How do I know that behind the scenes, X haven't already said to her, oh, I think you made a mistake. Did you mean this account? Because I've already shown the evidence that there was only one alternative account. When you type in what she put on the subpoena, that account belongs to me.
Mm-hmm.
So have X already gone back to her and said, did you mean this account? Or, do you want to check your spelling?
Yeah,
She knows there's a typo because she's confirmed to me in email. Oh, yes, I appreciate there was a typo, but yes, we were referring to you. Don't ignore it, basically. So, no, I can't just ignore it. No, I'm not okay with that. And that's got nothing to do with I've got something to hide. In fact, if anything, I've been more than open and transparent. But this is not how things are done. I'm a stickler to the rules.
She finds out like how you spend your money. Like it's just like super evasive. It's like if she finds out,
There's no need for it.
See, my whole theory was the physical address part was that then because I don't know, my theory was that she would need a physical address to physically serve a subpoena. Because why else she need a and so I thought like is she gonna go after these people for like defamation or something? Even though everybody clearly has said on X, defamation is when it's false in spreading falsities, and this is just literally just reporting on her actions or things that she's done and putting your opinions, like that's what people do sometimes. They'll see something and be like, oh, I didn't like that, and people were doing that for Justin Baldoni before anyways. When her thing first initially hit, do you remember how everyone's like, he's so gross, da da da, and it's like, what is he gonna do, go subpoena all those people who were calling him a predator and all that stuff? No. Like that was just like, I always go back to the dude, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. That's the part that scared me was the physical address, because I was like, why else would you want that unless you wanted to subpoena them for something else physically?
That is exactly what is going to happen. Because she can't do that without those details. She can't subpoena your bank without the bank details and your details to go with it. So there is going to be more subpoenas, and then there usually leads to more subpoenas, So, no, this is just the first in, multiple battles if she gets her way here. So, it's not happening as far as I'm concerned, I'm well, it's up to Lyman, I guess, but, I feel like I presented my case as well as I possibly could. I feel like I covered everything. I feel like I covered everyone as well, because, there's people in that subpoena who are bound to not have any idea what is going on there. Or if they are accounts that are closed or suspended. It could be any reason why they're closed or suspended. But still.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy. Like I still just I don't know. It's unfathomable like you're going through it. Like we started off texting each other at 3 a.m. Us in the bed, me and my adult fort that I call when I'm under the blankets. Texting each other like months ago, and now you're like literally in the lawsuit. It's like a dream. It's like like a movie.
It's crazy. I mean, I would not wish this. This isn't. I mean, some people, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I wish I could be subpoenaed." Honestly, this is not a fun process, and you know, I have a head start on this because of my legal career. But again, you know, this is not a situation I want to be in at all, and neither does anyone else I've spoken to. I've seen some people have some real anxiety. Some people have talked about giving up content creating or giving up talking about this case. That's exactly what the effect it was designed to have, and it should not be allowed to stand. You know, it's a public case. Blake Lively put it in the New York Times. That's how this started, in the most public way. And it's like, you know, she cannot be allowed to use mainstream media to blast her lawsuit for the world to hear, but then these subpoenas, where Ezra Hudson really does appear to be abusing her subpoena power to send these subpoenas, and she's not. I mean, certainly I presented the case why I don't think she's doing the, you know, she's following the correct steps for even American citizens, but certainly for myself and Ashley and Chusty, you know, she has not followed the international procedures.
I think it's really weird that you guys said, well, not you, but Kirsty and Ashley were on X saying like, oh, you can't subpoena people in Spain, and then you can't subpoena people in Canada, and then they got subpoenaed, but
You
it
can.
didn't add up with the dates because I
No,
was like,
you,
I wonder
you,
if they like were like, oh, hold my beer, I'm about to subpoena you, but it didn't add up with the
you
dates.
can.
I went back and I was like, no, they subpoenaed them before.
No, I mean, the standard American subpoena that they issued, no, that does not work. That's not enough. You can, be very clear, yeah, there is not a situation where it's impossible. Blake Lively can try it. I don't think she's going to meet the standard for it, but she's got to go through proper processes and channels for both the UK, for anywhere in Europe, and for Canada. Canada is a very similar process as well. The Hague Convention. It's not the Hague Convention in Canada per se, but you still have to go through the courts to a Canadian court, request a letters rogatory there as well, which is what I said was needed in the UK, and then you have to satisfy a 6-step test before you can get granted what you need to issue you got to domesticate the subpoena basically. So for me, if Blake Lively really pushes it, she will have to go through the process. She'll have to get a UK court ordered subpoena, and then that subpoena will be enforceable in the UK. It's not like it travels over to America, and it's not going to bring me over to America either. So that's how that would work. But there is a way for her to do it, but I just don't think her case meets the threshold for it. It's a high bar.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be interesting to see whether she takes this info. I mean, hopefully the motion in Quash works and she doesn't get access to anything. But whether she tries to take other, tries to go after, like how she went after Andy to try and do it personally. I mean, it'd be harder, but it'd be interesting because you know how Ryan is. Like he doesn't like to lose, allegedly.
Yes, I'm going to answer this. In the motion, I did actually request sanctions. I'm going to leave it up to the judge, but I have requested sanctions and a protective order and any other relief that the judge sees fit. Was the final bit. So we see. I filed this yesterday. I've seen a few people ask, have I actually filed this? Yes, I have filed this and served notice on all the attorneys. So I've sent it to Fritz and Friedman and Schuster and Garofalo for Wayfarer side, and then I've sent it to Gottlieb and Hudson on Lively side. They have all got that. They've had it since about 5 o'clock this morning, my time, and it's like 1:45 now. We'll see. We'll see.
It tomorrow.
It might hit the docket. No, it may get bounced back because I know there's been issues with Cassidy's, and I think Ashley's may have got rejected, and Lauren hasn't actually filed her full motion. She's done the letter, the notice of intent. So, I know there were some issues because, even with my background, I haven't filed in a US court system. So I'm not sure have I done everything right? Because they're quite picky, the federal courts, on what you, like the file size, the format, what font you use. And there's a whole, idiot's guide for what the filing has to look and what standard it has to be at. And like when you file, you've got to include certain things. So with the court email, so when I sent it to the court in the email, you have to also give notice to the lawyers, so you have to include them. I didn't send them that email because that had my name and address and phone number, and I wasn't, I'm doing this because I don't want them to have all that. So I was able to do that, but then I sent a copy of the PDF in a separate email, which had all the lawyers. That was their notice they were given. Hopefully, we will see something soon. I am incredibly nervous about this. I'm not going to lie to you. I am really nervous. I was nervous doing this live stream as well. I kept kind of hyperventilating, and I was kind of like stumbling over my words, even though I didn't have to think about it, and they were right there in front of me. It was just like, oh, this is a huge deal, and this is me showcasing my own legal filing.
Mm-hmm. It's different when you're on the other side. You've been reporting on, and same thing with Lauren. She's been reporting on the other filings, and now it's like your own filing. So, but you had your support system here. You had your sis, and you had 700 people at one point supporting you.
I know. I'm so grateful for that. I really am. I had Roman and Ludwig as well, my boys.
Ludwig and Roman were here, and we had Omar show up. So everyone's here to support you and stuff.
know.
I got a sneak peek, girl, because normally we have to wait for the docket, and then I don't have the pacer, so I normally depend on you and Lauren to get a sneak peek, and then the court listener comes out later. Sometimes I'll go and read it myself on court listener, but yeah, this time I'm like, ooh, I get a sneak peek. We get a sneak peek with the live reading. That was fun.
Yeah, and it's been So I will once I know it's safety on the docket, I will do my thread and I will make the whole thing kind of available. So yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It is because there's a lot of heart and soul went into that.
I love DFJ. She says, you don't have to be nervous anymore, though. It's out there and it slays. I'm like, I loved it. I love the end lines to each little section. There was always a little line, like the spaghetti, the wish list. I loved all of that. Yeah, there it is.
Thank you.
Don't have to be nervous anymore. A lot of people breathed a sigh of relief once it was done, but Leanne's like, oh, now the judge is going to read it.
There's so much. And then Ezra Hudson's going to respond to it as well. Let's not forget about that. And that's
how does it go? Does it go back and forth?
Yeah.
Write another one?
Yes, because she responds and then I get to reply. Then, in theory, that's how it should go. And then I don't know how soon or when. I don't know what happens. Because Google will well, let us know if you are gonna file something. But X didn't do that. They didn't say anything. They just they were like, oh yeah, contact the ACLU. Well, that's no bloody good for me, is it? I'm not American.
How is the judge not crazy? Because how many people is it? 37? So he's going to have to go through 37 motions to quash?
No, it's 43.
Oh, it's 43. Okay, so 40. Oh, because I forgot about the TikTok 7. So 43. And then so how does that work? I don't know. That's the weirdest thing to me. He's going to have to go through 43 motion to quash.
Yeah, but then, that's assuming everyone files, because I say that not everyone will have got their notice, and some accounts were suspended or whatever. But I mean, even those accounts should set up and care, because it's not information about an account that's closed off, so there's going to be nothing there. They're wanting your personal information and your financial information and all your backup information and your location information and your IP information. No, they want to know. They want everything. So even the people whose accounts are closed or suspended, or whatever, they may think, oh, it's not a big deal. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal, actually. The ramifications of these subpoenas are wide and far-ranging. They are massive, and if she gets granted them, right, that's a precedent going forward for future lawsuits as well, for other people to use and abuse. That's a whole terrifying thing going on right there, and it's clear that is a problem, because that's why I believe Kevin Fritz wrote his letter last night, and was like, right, you know what, we need to help out here. We need to help the content creators. They can't take us on as parties with them, but they are, basically doing what they can to help and to, make Lively look as ridiculous as she actually is. So I think that's, I think that.
Wait, is
also,
Lisa saying there's a Variety article that just dropped? She said,
Yeah.
Variety article headline, Blake Lively subpoenas her online critics. Is it
Can we
fact-finding?
have a look at that then?
Wait,
Why
what?
not?
So is MSM, because that's big, Variety's big. Lisa, did that just drop? They're saying yes.
Okay, we'll have a look.
What?
Did you
Because
see
that's
the one?
big. I mean, only Daily Mail and the couple of the smaller, that they do the celebrity pop culture stuff, the smaller, what do you call them? Small media. But Variety is big. She says DFJ, yes, but it's not as good as it could be. So are they leaning? Is it Lively leaning? Newton's law of motion is squash. This should be your new with the little owl. Oh my God, this is a shirt. Laura. I'm like, Laura, write this down with the little owl. Newton's law. Because for those who don't know, in Leanne's deep dives, she's got a little owl mascot that Aiko made. And Aiko, I always say it wrong. Sorry, Aiko. I'm sorry. Which one is it? So I don't keep saying it wrong. Is it Aiko? Aiko. Okay. Aiko made a little cute little owl that's like her little mascot on all her deep dives and stuff. That comes out in the slides. Aiko. Okay, I got you. Now I'm going to think about the number 8. Thank you, Aiko. Forgive me. It's like I've known you this long and I still can't get it right. I'm bad with names.
I'm not seeing this Variety
article.
Is it Blake Lively fights back against content creator? What's it called?
She said Blake Lively subpoenas her online critics. Is it fact-finding or intimidation? Okay. Just Google Variety Blake Lively. I see it now. That's what I Googled. Google Variety Blake Lively, and it should be the first one that comes up.
Google Variety Blake Lively.
Yeah. Wait, can I send it to you in the Telegram real quick?
Yeah, that would be bad because I'm not seeing it.
I just messaged it to you to the objection chat.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, I got it.
I wanted you to write down, Laura, the Newton's law of motion is squash, because I feel like that'd be a cute little merch T-shirt or a coffee mug with the little owl mascot.
Oh my God, yeah, that'd be so cute. Right, see, now we're designing merch.
I mean, we've been designing merch this whole time.
Yeah, we have to do it.
I was having Laura take notes.
Okay.
Is it fact finding or intimidation?
Can you see that now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so Mackenzie Folks, a stay-at-home mum. Mackenzie Folks, she's a TikToker. It's been posting on TikTok for about a year, for the past several months. Is this recent?
Yeah, this just dropped, I guess. It says 2 hours ago.
Oh, it's the sequin covered spatula. Right, now I know who she is.
That's why her name is Kenzie.
Yeah.
Or Kenz. It's Mackenzie. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Kenz, if y'all don't follow her, Kenz.
Yeah.
I follow her
Yeah.
on TikTok.
For the past several months, she's focused on the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni legal case, given her opinions into a sequin-covered spatula. That doesn't make anyone sound mental, does it? The way it's worded.
It's the cutest thing ever, though.
I know, I love it. It's great. That she uses as a microphone. On July 10th, she received a notice from Google that Lively's attorneys had submitted a subpoena for her account information. At first, she thought it was a phishing scam. Do you know, we all did, actually. We all were like, nah, it's not real. But it was real. Blake Lively was seeking to prove that she was part of Baldoni's digital army. Then she's quoted, "It's baffling," she says. "I never talked to anyone in the industry. I'm from Kansas." The Baldoni Lively battle is a classic celebrity feud, but Lively is doing something new by trying to unmask her online detractors, whom she claims are doing Baldoni's bidding. Lively is suing in federal court, alleging that her It Ends With Us co-star unleashed an online smear campaign against her in retaliation for complaining about sexual harassment on set. Her lawsuit, which is scheduled to go to trial in March, alleges that the online campaign is ongoing. Lively's attorneys have also sent subpoenas to X and to individual critics of hers, including Andy Signal, Perez Hilton, and Candace Owens. The case has echoes of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial of 2022, in which Heard faced a barrage of criticism online. See, I don't think it does have those echoes. I think it's so
They
much
got
bigger.
Elaine Bredhoff for comment. Come on, Variety. Let that woman retire somewhere on a beach. Like, come on. Not
Can you
Elaine.
imagine Elaine Bredhoff on a beach?
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know why we keep thinking they're trying to make Elaine happen. Like, it's not going to happen.
No. This case is much bigger than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It's so different and it's so much bigger. I think it is. But okay. Elaine Bredhoff, who represented Heard, argues that much of it was planted by Depp's team. Do you know, she never actually proved any of that. Like, she's just spouting that. Depp's team has denied it. Well, yeah. They basically annihilated her. No, do you remember, right? And this is I'm not
That
bashing Amber
was
Heard,
getting
but
bombarded first.
but who sits in the middle of testifying and just randomly says, "And my dog steps on a bee"?
Yeah, it was her own testimony and her
It
own
was
action.
awful. They basically annihilated her, Bredhoff says. "I think it's great that Blake Lively's legal team is trying to get in front of it. How else do you fight this?" Right? Okay.
You
Probably
fight
thinks
it
Van
by letting
Zandt
it
is
blow
great.
over the 48-hour news cycle, and you just let it die down and
Yeah.
not be in front of the Time 100 gala making
No.
people more mad.
She she sounds like the kind of lawyer who would think that Van Zandt was a great idea. Many of the targets that Lively subpoenas argue, many of the targets of the Lively subpoenas argue that she has crossed the line and is trying to silence sincere criticism. They're just offering their opinions like anyone else who has the right to do so, says attorney John Jenga. Is it Jenga or Genga? I don't know. Who represents entertainment journalist Shasti Flah, who also got a Google notice. "We think it's invasive. It's designed to intimidate these people, many of whom don't have the means to fight." And I'll tell you something about this lawyer. I've seen his work. Extremely, extremely good. A spokesman for Lively says that the subpoenas are an evidence-gathering tool, not an accusation of wrongdoing. There is no silencing of content creators. They are obviously making their views known, the spokesperson said. The subpoenas to social media companies are one piece of the puzzle. Well, there we go. What did I say? The subpoenas are just the first step. So here we go. The subpoenas to social media companies are one piece of the puzzle to connect the evidentiary dots of a campaign that was designed to leave no fingerprints. The Google subpoenas seek account information for 16 YouTubers, including names, emails, IP addresses, physical addresses, and bank account and credit card numbers. Some of the targeted accounts are anonymous, though many other creators post under their real names. Several other creators told Variety that they are simply covering the legal filings and have not been in touch with either side. This case has escalated to being about so much more than it was originally, Plar says. Now it's about freedom of speech on the internet. Folks got interested in the case, so we're back to Ken's. After reading the initial filings, she concluded that Lively's claims of harassment didn't stand up and that Baldoni was being bullied by powerful celebrities, Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. We root for the underdog, she says. Folks can't afford to hire a lawyer to fight the subpoena, so she wrote her own motion to quash. I wonder if she wants me to have a look at that. Or I might reach out to her, actually, see if she wants any help.
I know I was joking that you should have asked Perez because he was in your chat. Like, hey Perez, because he's Prez A too.
Yeah. I'd love to read his, because he's got the full one. I'd love to see all the demands. It makes sense of that. Oh, she says, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. This is totally a scene out of a movie. Some millionaire actress coming after someone. It's very daunting. Gregory Dahl, a Los Angeles attorney who has been following the case, says it's foolhardy to go after creators. Many of them have already turned the subpoenas into content, using them to build up their followings and their authority on the case. I think she's trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. I love it. We're here for quotes and metaphors.
Yeah. We got the spaghetti on the wall.
I know.
We got the squash. We got the what else?
Subpoenas.
The wish list.
Yes. Trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. I absolutely love that quote.
Wait, you know what my favorite one was Daily Mail's the PR expert who was like, it's like she's clubbing baby seals. I love that one. And now everybody's like, save the seals. This, just seals.
I think she's trying to kill. Right, so I keep saying this one line now. I'm going to move on. Okay. It's an absolute PR backfire in a profound sense. If Lively is being targeted by a more sophisticated bot attack, it will be almost impossible to peel back the layers to discover who's behind it, he says. I'm going to fight them tooth and nail, says Signal, who is producing a documentary on the case. This is nonsense. And I read that with Andy's voice in my head. Well, that was an interesting read.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it wasn't, as bad as, because it's Variety, and I know their team Blake. I mean, the Elaine quote. I don't know. I'm glad they picked it up, though. I mean, did they have a choice at this point? I feel like the more motions to quash go in, that then MSM is going to pick it up, and maybe now that Variety kind of like dipped their, feet in it. I'm gonna have to look to the author because I had like a list of like Deadline, which with Deadline I thought it was Dominic, who's Deadline Dominic I call him. I thought he was like pro Blake, but I think he's just the only entertainment writer on Deadline. So that's why I was like, oh well, maybe he just writes it because he's the only entertainment writer.
I'm gonna say this
a little pro Blake. But I had a list of like, who and because like Josh Boswell, he tends to write pro Baldoni.
Yeah, I'll come back to that one in a sec, but this one made me laugh. We have a fly emoji.
I love that.
I do. I love that too. This one though, she doesn't want Andy's documentary to get out as crew members speak out about her. Now I said this to you, didn't I, earlier on your stream? The one thing I think is good, because everyone was a lot of people have speculated, Andy's got a subpoena because he got that exclusive statement from Brian Friedman, which, he showed on his computer screen and it was on a Word document and people were like, oh, well, that's odd. It looks like, an insider thing. It wasn't. It was just, a statement. And it may have been something that, Andy was given verbally over the phone and he's just wrote it into a Word document, but I don't think he got subpoenaed because of that documentary, and here's why. Not the documentary, sorry. I don't think Andy got subpoenaed because of that statement he got from Friedman. Reason being is he got that statement on I believe it was the 10th of July. I'm going on my time, by the way. By the 10th of July, when it was clear that they weren't refiling the second amended complaint, that is when Andy got the statement from Friedman. The subpoenas are dated the 3rd of July. That's a week before Andy had that statement. So I do not believe that the statement had anything to do with the subpoena. I think it's the documentary. And I think, it's cast and crew have spoken to Andy for this documentary, and she wants the information she can get about it. Much the same as, when Wayfarer instructed the third-party law firm to investigate the claims, and, had they followed all the rules and procedures and various things. She tried to subpoena their information and their report and everything, and was told no by Lyman. So, yes, I think she is trying to get her hands on, because look how many times she's tried to subpoena Andy. Like you said, 2 for sure. I think a third one might have been, a mistake. It was an account that uses his content and, uses his name, the Popcorn Planet thing, in their own name. And no one checked it. It seems like no one has checked a lot of things about these subpoenas, which is worrying. But I think they are aggressively going after Andy because he has had contact and he has spoken to cast and crew members as part of this documentary, and she wants that information. That's what's going on there.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. She can watch the documentary when it comes out.
Well, I actually have to go because I had a crock pot going and that is done.
No, I have to go
I
too.
kept hearing beeping and I was like, oh my God, is that the fire alarm? But I forgot I put something in the dryer. And so you know how like the dryer has the little bell? Because I was like, oh my God, it was just a crock pot and I had it on low. I thought it was my smoke detector going off because I was like, beep, 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 beep. I was like, so a little while ago, I freaked out for a second while we were on the line. I was like, is the house, because I have the door closed. So I was like, is the house burning down? What's that beeping? But yeah, so that's ready and it's, the stomach is grumbling.
I just want to say, hi, Bruce. We had fuck with cats. Now it's don't fuck with cats. Now it's don't fuck with YouTube. Yeah.
Who was saying they wanted to make a documentary? Donna was telling Lauren, like, can we make a documentary of you? Like,
we absolutely
the
did.
process. Which, it is interesting. I thought when I first started, I was like, oh man, I wish I would have like documented me, going through it. Cause the stuff me and Leanne went through was just so funny. Like I had a broken leg, or it wasn't broken, but it was, bad. And then, so I couldn't walk for 6 weeks. And then Leanne had her surgery
and I couldn't talk for weeks.
Yeah. And so it was just so crazy. Like all the little mini stories as we were covering this case it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It would have made a good, a good movie.
I'm going to really quickly answer this because then I am going to shoot off myself because it's gone midnight and I'm really tired actually.
Well, we'll stay talking for forever. How many times had it been like nighttime and we're both
our
eyes are hurting and we know like we need to let each other go and then we won't.
And you did it as well. You said, right, that's it. I I am going to go, brushing goodbye. And I was expecting you to do the whole thing where you like start talking again, but you actually went, and that hurt. It was like ripping off a band-aid. I was like, where's she gone? She did actually go.
I gotta exit.
Yes, in theory, she could probably try and file for a cease and desist. I don't think she'll get it though, because Andy is a proper journalist, and he's spent money and everything, and she can't stop him doing a documentary on this lawsuit. So I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think if she tried, I don't think she get it.
I said it's the same way she can't stop HBO or whoever else did the other documentaries.
Yeah, exactly. And there have been other documentaries anyway, so she can't moan now. I don't know. I would like to see the director's cut, but I think she owns the right to her likeness, so I don't know if we'll ever see it.
I love how Roses Wild said it's spreading to those that watch you guys. She broke her toe. For a second, remember we kept getting hurt or like there were ailments, and we're like, is it just to keep us like in bed on this case? What is going on?
Oh, I know. We've had some wild times.
Before I go, can I plug real quick our morning show? Leanne has been coming on with me on my channel, Objection, where we cover legal cases. And tomorrow, I hope she can join me. I don't know. She probably needs sleep, but I'm doing Kevin Costner. And then for the true crime people here in an hour, probably maybe 2 hours because I got to eat. So I might go on late. But I'm doing the Donna Adelson case for those that are interested. Her trial's starting in like 2 weeks. So I just wanted to plug the Objection show, and Leanne's my co-host in the mornings. She can continue to join me because it's been so fun.
Yeah. No, if I can, I've always said if I can be there, I will be there.
Yep.
We're gonna have to do a recording. Me and CJ, we're doing all the ridiculous laws and lawsuits from around the world across time. So it's all the funny and absurd laws that are still in place. And we had one, didn't we? Get a little demonstration of it, that you can't keep your donkeys in a bathtub in Arizona, and you can't break wind in Florida on Thursdays after 6 p.m.
And you mentioned Lauren because Lauren lives in Florida.
I know. I was like, I told Lauren about it. I was like, I thought of you. She's like, oh, thanks. Because I was referring to that. You remember that video where she made a noise and she was like, it wasn't a part. It wasn't a part. It was Parkgate.
Just Stupid said, you guys are great together. I love Leanne, and we are great together. We are an awesome team. And I love just yapping with her. We can yap all day, all night. And we do. I'm like, and we do.
We do. But we are doing a segment. We're going to do something. So then we've got something for after Baldoni, if there's no interest in lawsuits. But yeah, we're going to... We wanted to do something that was funny, and the little preview we gave of this, which is in the live we did the other day, and it went down so well. The slides are great. It's really interesting facts as well, unusual facts, and like party pieces and things like that. But they're funny. They're really funny, and it's to bring a bit of humor, because I know certainly for me, and I'm speaking for some of the other content creators who had this subpoena, like this case is not an easy case to follow. It's not an easy case to keep up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting intense.
Blake's word, levity. It's just to bring levity. It's just
I know, right? Multitudes. But like now we're personally kind of part of it as well. Some of us, it's starting to feel quite dark. So yes. I needed to do something where I could bring my knowledge, educate someone with something that's absolutely hilarious, and it's like, random fact nonsense, really. So we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and hopefully maybe we can do an episode, here soon. I know, like right now, I got you dragging to my show, and then you now that the motion to quash has been filed, though, I'm sure you probably have more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can get it out soon, because I love those slides too. By the way, if y'all haven't caught that live, it's Leanne's last live, I think, that me and her did together. And oh my God, the slides were just perfect, because it's got like a little funny image, and then it's really cool, like the way that she has it set it up to like show y'all the visuals, Ludwig style visuals.
Yeah, and they're not. They are actually what I've made. But I will just quickly flick one on screen now, just for people to sort of see.
Yeah, give them a sneak peek real quick.
There we go. We'll do the donkeys in bathtub one, actually, because I think that's
yeah, Christina, we'll probably go on late for the crime show, because I still got to queue it all up and stuff, and then eat dinner. So probably maybe 8. Hopefully I don't go too far into Lauren's, because I try to pick times that doesn't go into other creators' time, because they had the time slot before I did.
So here we are. This is the donkeys cannot sleep in bathtubs in Arizona, and it is still very much law today. But as you can see, funny, really nice looking slides. I'm really quite happy with. So yeah, that's going to be our new. We've got a whole thing, unusual laws from around the world still in force. And it's all kind of the pickle bounce test of Connecticut. There's just some really funny things. Here we go. Lauren's Law. Illegal to pass wind in public after 6 p.m. Thursdays in Florida. Again, this is a real law that is actually enforced today. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm so looking forward to that.
Yep, me too. I appreciate everyone in the chat, like everyone who supports us and is always
thank you.
here, supporting and all that stuff. It was a really hard one tonight. And we couldn't have done it without y'all, especially with the technical difficulties. You didn't hear, but I was referencing, and maybe you don't know this, but Ashley Simpson's jig on SNL when she had to do technical difficulties and she had to do the jig. Like, I don't know what to do, y'all, but we definitely have to come up with something when there's technical difficulties. Maybe write a rap song for it or something.
And just to let people know as well, very quickly, I know there's been a series of filings that have been out over last week. I am not even going to try and catch up with them with threads. If anyone can, like, people want me to do, I'll read them on live if people are happy, because it saves a lot more time. If anyone just puts in comments or something, like, not in the live chat, because I won't be able to, I won't see that after this. But if someone leaves a comment and says, can you do a live on this filing or that filing, or there's stuff going on, then I'll catch up with it in that way instead of trying to do threads, because then now moving forward I can just get on with the threads as well, because I am still doing motions to quash for some people, so I'm not going to set myself a task of trying to catch up with the stuff that's already happened. It's too much.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
But
I am happy to do live stream videos where I can sit and read through and then kind of just react in the moment and go, you know what, this is a good filing, or this is what I think of it, this is what that means. And then you can actually hear it from me direct. And
we got lucky you did Fritz's letter, because I was like, yay.
I know, I didn't read that in depth, though,
because was complaining there was no GIF.
No, I know. Well, he's always complaining. I don't listen to him, but
he's like, what happened to your signature GIFs? But yeah, we got lucky with the Fritz breakdown on threads.
Well, I've had a whole day of it today, to be fair, on X, haven't I? So, like, I forgot the GIFs. I'm so sorry. But no, he's right. It needed GIFs. That one deserved GIFs, and it wasn't good enough.
He added some.
Yeah, but I mean, the main thing is I got to covering it, and I was nervous about today, and I had other things going on all day, but that was remiss of me to leave the GIF. Not good enough. Roman is absolutely right, as always.
You're like, Roman is actually right. Oh, look at DFJ's like, sometimes it doesn't need the GIFs. No, but that's her signature. That's her, and especially like you said with the Cruella ones.
No, this needed a GIF. This needed a mic. Do you remember when I did that thread with the filing, and every post, like in the thread, had a mic drop GIF. They had a different mic drop one. That's what this one needed.
Yep, sure did. Okay, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to say goodbye. Bye, Khaleesi. We appreciate your support.
Bye, Khaleesi. Just snooping. Thank you, everyone who came. Really pleased to see you. I hope you like the filing. Wish me luck. That one, it stays on the docket, and two, like, I get the subpoena smashed out. Okay.
Thank you so much. See y'all. Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.